It's the year 2030 and Nishino Mizuho is having the worst birthday of her life when she receives an email from her boss. The message asks her to finish a project by the year's end, which leads her to reflect on her own past. She sees some high school students nearby and she's reminded of her own high school years, realizing that at that time she didn't fully appreciate how bright and wonderful her youthful experiences were. The scene then throws back to July 1st, 2020, when the world is experiencing the COVID-19 pandemic and a news broadcast announces that it's officially summer and talks about the hot summer temperatures. Mizuho's father prepares a lunch for her and goes to deliver it, only to find a topless boy, Kizuki, in her room. Kizuki and Mizuho are sleeping together on the floor, and although Mizuho reassures her father that Kizuki is just a little brother and is topless because she asked him to pose for her manga drawing, her father expresses concern about them staying up late together and sleeping together like kids. Kizuki leaves and thanks Mizuho's father for letting him stay over, and Mizuho's father jokes around that he would love to hear that from him yesterday rather than that morning. Mizuho then realizes that her father seems to have forgotten that it's her birthday. Then she shares that she has grown up with 4 childhood friends in her residential neighborhood in Koigahama Highland, and they have known each other for over 10 years. Mizuho is now heading to school and greets her 4 childhood friends who are waiting for her outside their house. One teases her for being late, but Mizuho responds that getting ready takes time. Having grown up together, she reflects on the deep bond they share. They can't keep secrets from each other and are so close that they're practically like siblings. They are now in their 2nd year of high school. At the station, one of Mizuho's friends, Shubo, jokes about her not wearing makeup and teases her about hiding behind her in her glasses. Another friend, Eru, agrees and suggests she should put more effort into her appearance. Mizuho playfully ignores their comments. Shubo guesses she stayed up late working on her manga, which Mizuho admits is true. The last friend, Shin, who is the bookworm in the group, suggests differently and encourages her to focus on studying instead so that Mizuho won't come to him when they have exams. Retorting his words, Mizuho said that there are more important things in life than academics like love and friendship. On the train, Mizuho's friends continue their usual teasing. Shugo and Shin are focused on encouraging Mizuho to study. But Mizuho notices Kizuki's backpack is open and points it out, thinking that despite his tall height, he's still the youngest in their group. Later, the group asks Kizuki about his upcoming swimming practice, and Eru teases Mizuho, suggesting she'll be watching Saito practice. Mizuho chases after him, not understanding the joke, while Shubo comments on their lively energy in the morning. After school, Mizuho is disappointed to have cleaning duty, and she seems too late to watch the swimming practice because a lot of girls are already there. A lot of girls are cheering and excited to see Kizuki when one accidentally bumps her face, resulting in her glasses falling and breaking. Mizuho then overhears that Saito is absent and that there are rumors of him quitting the team due to the cancellation of national competitions. Feeling disappointed, Mizuho walks home alone, but she unexpectedly bumps into Saito. Mizuho calls him and Saito recognizes her. They sit together at the bus stop and Saito shares his frustration about everything being canceled, including classes, trips, and events including the swimming competition, just because of the COVID-19 pandemic. Saito questions the meaning of all this hard work just to end up in that situation. Mizuho shyly confesses that she enjoyed watching Saito having fun swimming and had planned to confess her feelings at the final meet but now apologizes for her feelings. She then says that despite what her feelings are, Saito should swim for his own sake, and Mizuho wants to see him enjoying what he loves doing. Saito coldly rejects her words, saying Mizuho is an outsider and would not understand what he feels about swimming. He rides the bus, leaving Mizuho to reflect on the end of her unrequited, one-sided love. She then calls that day her worst birthday ever. The scene shifts to Kizuki, who is still practicing swimming late at night despite the uncertainty of upcoming competitions. Saito then shows up and questions how Kizuki can stay so determined despite the uncertain situation. Kizuki explains that he made a promise to himself to improve and confess his feelings to a special girl if he reaches the national finals. Feeling impressed and moved by Kizuki's determination, Saito decides to start practicing again as well. Saito then tells Kizuki that Mizuho had asked him to swim for his own sake and that she wanted to see him swim. Kizuki, surprised, clarifies that Mizuho was more than just a childhood friend to him. He sees her as a woman and asks Saito not to make a move on her, showing how protective he is of her. Mizuho returns home feeling down, but her friends surprise her with a birthday party and congratulate her for turning 17. Overcome with emotion from their kindness, she begins to cry. Her friends tease her a bit, but Mizuho thanks them, explaining that her tears are from happiness. Eru takes a photo of her crying and tells them that since there is no fireworks festival this year because it was canceled, they should capture the moment with pictures. As Mizuho prepares to make a wish before blowing out the candles, Kizuki asks her if she had been crying earlier before she got home. He says that he notices it even though she's wearing glasses. Kizuki then blows out the candles and says sincerely that he wishes he could be Mizuho's boyfriend. During their meal, Shubo teasingly asks Mizuho what she was doing alone with Kizuki a while ago. Mizuho is taken aback and Eru joins the teasing, saying that Kizuki was probably proposing to get married to Mizuho, referencing Shubo's past behavior of asking Mizuho to marry him when they were in elementary school, to which Shugo humorously admits it was just a childish phase before he knew that there were other girls in the world aside from Mizuho. Shubo then playfully hits Eru, and they joke around while Shin asks them to eat quietly. Later, Shin notices Mizuho has cream on her face and is about to wipe it, but Kizuki steps in and gently wipes it off, calling her childish, to which Mizuho responds with a playful remark. But Shin looks surprised and caught off guard by Kizuki's actions. The next day, Mizuho's friends are surprised when they see Mizuho wearing contact lenses instead of her usual glasses, prompting teasing remarks from the boys. Eru comments that the contacts look better than her nerdy glasses, which annoys Mizuho. Shin can't stop looking at Mizuho, and when he realizes his action, he jokingly calls her stupid no matter what she does, causing everyone to laugh. Kizuki unexpectedly compliments Mizuho, saying she looks really cute, leaving the group surprised. At school, Mizuho is frustrated by Kizuki's comment, thinking he's just mocking her and drawing the conclusion that he's just trying to cheer her up because of her crying on her birthday. Later, Kizuki suddenly holds her hand and helps her erase the part of the board she can't reach and casually invites her to grab lunch after, which adds to her confusion about Kizuki's intentions toward her. At the cafeteria, Kizuki is getting attention from everyone because of feeding Eru broccoli even though he doesn't like it himself, and Shin jokingly teases him for doing so. Meanwhile, Mizuho is sitting behind them having lunch with her friend Chika, when Chika asks why she isn't with her usual group. Mizuho explains she wants to spend time with her. However, another girl approaches Mizuho to ask her to deliver a gift to Kizuki. Mizuho is confused and questions why the girl doesn't give it to him herself. The girl shyly admits she gets nervous around Kizuki, which makes Mizuho reflect on why Kizuki seems so popular despite his past, where he was known to be sickly and often missed school due to asthma. Mizuho thinks about Kizuki in a different light, recalling how he was dumb and always a crybaby when they were younger. Mizuho used to share her manga works with Kizuki, who excitedly read them and praised her, calling her a genius and saying that Mizuho would be a manga artist when they grew up. Going back to the story, Mizuho tried showing it to a manga editor, who critiqued it and called it average, suggesting she try writing a school romance based on her own experiences. However, Mizuho hesitated, saying that she lacked the personal experience to do so and believed her life wasn't as exciting as it may seem. After talking to the editor, Eru excitedly showed Mizuho some makeup given to her by the editors and said that he'd give one to her. Having drinks in a cafe, Mizuho then told Eru what happened, and Eru encouraged her to try drawing something new and take her mind off things. Mizuho wondered if people really experience thrilling moments every day, as her only dream was to watch fireworks with her crush, but it was cancelled due to the pandemic. She then remembered the gift, which was meant for Kizuki, and Eru asked her if she wasn't bothered at all by the girls flocking to Kizuki. Mizuho then answered why she would feel like that when he was the youngest in their group. Eru then told her that it was completely okay for her to deliver the gift to Kizuki. Mizuho then went to Kizuki to deliver the gift, who was still in the pool practicing swimming. Kizuki was so happy when Mizuho gave the gift, thinking that it was Mizuho who made it. She then explained, telling him that it was from the girls in their class and she was just asked to deliver it. Kizuki was disappointed and asked Mizuho to give the gift back, leaving Mizuho confused and hurt as she had made an effort to go there. As Kizuki left, Mizuho stopped him and Kizuki questioned whether it bothered her or not if he accepted the gift from other girls. She answered straightforwardly that it didn't bother her at all, and then she was about to go home when Kizuki grabbed her hand. Kizuki told her not to leave him yet, just like how he used to when they were younger. Mizuho reflected on how Kizuki was clearly younger and weaker than her. Mizuho grabbed back her hand, telling Kizuki it hurt. Kizuki persisted, and Mizuho was pushed back to the wall and ended up turning on one of the showers. Kizuki leaned in closer to the wall to cover Mizuho from getting wet and hurtfully asked Mizuho if she had ever seen him as a man. Under her breath, Mizuho straightforwardly answered no. Kizuki then reached for her ears, saying he was confident he could change her thoughts and make sure that she would fall for him. Kizuki then grabbed Mizuho's cheeks and kissed her under the shower. Back to the present, adult Mizuho is working as a manga editor. At her office, she talks with Kawaguchi, a young manga artist. Feeling defeated, Kawaguchi reveals that her manga has been cancelled. She wonders if she should give up on being a manga artist entirely. Mizuho, feeling responsible as her editor, reassures her that they can try again. Offering a new theme for her next story, She suggests ideas about youth and love. Kawaguchi, still discouraged, expresses her doubts, saying she lacks personal experience with such sparkling themes. Trying to encourage her, Mizuho reminds her that she's still young and likely living an exciting life full of inspiration. This conversation stirs up a memory for Mizuho. She recalls a similar moment from her own past, where she sat with her editor in the same scenario as Kawaguchi, disheartened after her manga was canceled. Back then, her editor also advised her to write about youth and love, and Mizuho answered the same way as Kawaguchi. She said that she lacks the experience for that theme, without knowing that those moments are so colorful, and she will miss them as an adult. Reflecting on this, Mizuho realizes how much she sees herself in Kawaguchi, recognizing the cycle of guidance and growth in her work as an editor. The scene shifts to the past and high school classroom, where Kazuki chats with a classmate. The classmate complains about failing a recent quiz and turns to Kazuki to ask how he did. Casually admitting he also performed poorly, Kazuki jokes that only Shin, the group's bookworm, can manage surprise quizzes. The classmate laughs in agreement. Meanwhile, Mizuho watches this interaction from the classroom window, lost in thought. Her mind drifts to a memory of Kazuki. She recalls their last awkward encounter in the shower room, where Kazuki confidently told her she would eventually fall in love with him. Caught off guard back then, Mizuho questioned his bold claim. To her surprise, Kazuki kissed her, leaving her stunned and reflective about their relationship. Because of this encounter and their childhood friendship, Mizuho feels awkward around Kazuki and tries to avoid him. When he notices her watching, she quickly walks away. Later, near the classroom door, Mizuho stands in the way as Shin passes by. Bluntly, Shin tells her to move and stares at her for a few seconds before walking off. A friend of Mizuho's remarks on Shin's rudeness, and Mizuho agrees. However, the friend adds that despite his rudeness, Shin has a cool attitude, surprising Mizuho. Another friend comments that Shin looks scary, but the first friend insists that despite his intimidating appearance, Shin is actually quite good-looking. Feeling confused, Mizuho wonders what's going on with Shin. The scene shifts again, this time to the Highlander friends in Mizuho's room. Eru listens to music on his headphones, Shugo reads manga, and Shin helps Mizuho with her homework. Feeling overwhelmed by the difficulty of the work, Mizuho reflects on how hard it is. Shin leans close to her face, holding it briefly as he examines her. Pausing for a moment, he jokingly points out the wrinkles on her forehead, teasing her about how serious she looks. This leads to a brief exchange where Mizuho snaps at him, calling out his rude behavior from earlier at school. She mentions how Shin is known for his good looks but also for his bad reputation due to his attitude. Shin, unbothered, explains that the reason he acts rude is that he feels embarrassed for people to think he's close to Mizuho, who struggles academically and has to retake a test. Calling her a fool, he suggests they meet at the library the next day to review her studies. Mizuho, irritated by his attitude, finds him annoying. Just as their faces get too close during the conversation, Kazuki enters the room, placing a juice bottle between them. Offering the drink to Shin, Kazuki shifts the conversation. Mizuho, trying to avoid further interaction with Kazuki, asks Shin for help with her homework. Kazuki, however, jokingly remarks on how they still aren't done studying. Annoyed, Mizuho tells Kazuki to find something else to do, even suggesting he fold the laundry in the living room. Kazuki leaves and Shugo laughs at his misfortune. Suddenly realizing something, Mizuho rushes after Kazuki, which surprises everyone. Unexpectedly, Mizuho finds Kazuki in the living room folding her clothes. Embarrassed, she sees him holding one of her underwear and demands he return it. As she approaches him, she trips, and they both fall onto the sofa, ending up in an unexpectedly intimate position. Noticing her discomfort, Kazuki tells her that he can't take it anymore and that she's becoming too casual around him. He insists that if she doesn't start seeing him as more than just a friend, it will upset him. Feeling awkward, Mizuho asks for some space, unable to handle the tension. Kazuki agrees and leaves the room, leaving Mizuho in a daze as she processes the sudden shift in their relationship. The scene moves to a gym where Kazuki is working out. Looking up at the sky, he wonders if the clouds signal a storm. Shin approaches, teasing him about going through a typical adolescent phase. Before walking away, Kazuki, curious, asks why Shin isn't at the library with Mizuho. Shin explains that a student council meeting ran late, but that he's on his way to meet her. Meanwhile, Mizuho studies alone in the library, growing frustrated with Shin's delay. She receives a message from him explaining that the heavy rain forced him to leave early and head home. Nervous about the storm, Mizuho decides to pack up and leave. As she runs through the downpour, memories of a painful childhood moment resurface, her father leaving her during a storm and trusting her to Kazuki and his mom. Overcome with emotion, Mizuho struggles to keep herself together as the memories flood back. The story shifts to the present, where Shin is still searching for Mizuho in the library. The narrative transitions to a flashback of a younger Kazuki reassuring Mizuho, telling her everything will be okay. In her mind, Mizuho wishes for her mother's well-being. Back in the present, Mizuho, frightened by the storm and thunder, hides under a bicycle stand, feeling lost and calling for help. Meanwhile, Shin continues searching for her, unaware of her location as the storm grows fiercer. Mizuho, shouting for help, is found by Kazuki, who wraps her in a comforting hug. Reassuring her that everything is okay now, he softly tells her he's there for her. Overwhelmed, Mizuho calls his name, tears falling as Kazuki offers the comfort she desperately needs. After the storm clears, Kazuki carries Mizuho on his back, checking if she feels better. Mizuho, in a lighthearted tone, jokes that it's a low point for her to be cared for by someone like him. Teasingly, Kazuki apologizes, asking if she would have preferred someone else like Shin. Mizuho admits her fear of thunderstorms, linking it to a painful memory of losing her mother. Kazuki, understanding her fear because he has been with her since the beginning, acknowledges her emotions without saying much or any judgment. Expressing her gratitude, Mizuho tells Kazuki that she appreciates him and prefers him over Shin, thanking him for always being there for her since childhood. They share a quiet moment watching a rainbow appear in the sky. Lost in the beauty of the moment, Mizuho blushes as she looks at Kazuki. Noticing her reaction, Kazuki gets close to her as if he's about to kiss her, and jokingly asks if she has developed feelings for him. Flustered, Mizuho quickly covers his lips and denies it, embarrassed by his teasing. The scene shifts to a hot summer day at the beach, where Eru admires the blue sea and Shin mentions the pleasant breeze. They joke about being in Hawaii, but Shugo interrupts, pointing out that they're actually at a beach in Japan, not Hawaii. Slightly frustrated, Mizuho asks them to focus, but Eru playfully reminds everyone that they're having a pretend school trip since their original trip was canceled due to the pandemic. Mizuho comments that their real trip was supposed to be to Hokkaido, not Hawaii, and notices the others are fixated on a video of a Hawaiian beach. Shugo, who prefers Hokkaido, mentions he was looking forward to trying the local food, especially grilled lamb. Eru suggests they go get some lamb, but their plans are interrupted when Kazuki accidentally splashes water on them. After some confusion and playful teasing, a water fight breaks out with everyone laughing and enjoying the moment. Soaked from the water fight, Mizuho complains while Eru looks on with a surprised expression, as though realizing something important. That night, the group gathers in a small tent. Shin questions if they're allowed to be there, but Mizuho reassures him, explaining that Kazuki got permission from the neighbors and gave them treats in return. Meanwhile, Kazuki focuses on building muscle with dumbbells. Noticing his dedication, Eru suggests he should relax on his day off, but Kazuki responds that he's training for a personal record at the upcoming regionals. Shugo encourages him and Kazuki turns to Mizuho, asking if she'll cheer for him. Hesitating, Mizuho still agrees. Shin, looking uncomfortable, stays quiet, so Kazuki asks Eru if she'll join in too. After some more exercise, Kazuki declares it's time to sleep. Later, as they settle down for the night, Mizuho complains about the flat blanket, prompting Shin to tease her and Shugo to call her spoiled. Mizuho denies being spoiled, but Shin eventually calls for lights out. Feeling cramped due to the limited space and frustrated, Mizuho is startled when Kazuki unexpectedly moves closer to her. Teasingly, he tells her that she can act spoiled with him since their relationship has already reached that point. After all, they've already kissed. Taken aback by what Kazuki said, Mizuho shouts so loudly that everyone wakes up. When the lights come on, everyone is surprised to see Mizuho holding a pillow against Kazuki's face. While the others look on in shock, Mizuho reflects on the situation. She struggles with her feelings of anxiety about being in a relationship with Kazuki. Worrying about the fragility of their bond as friends, she feels uncertain about the emotional impact it would have if their relationship fell apart, leaving her unsure of how to handle her emotions. She's afraid that if she falls in love with him and their relationship blossom, it may taint the group's friendship that they already have since childhood. The next day, Kazuki practices swimming while other students, especially the girls, cheer him on. Watching from a distance, Mizuho is teased by her friend about possibly having a crush on him. Denying it, Mizuho listens as her friend suggests that she might not realize her feelings because they're so close and have been friends since childhood. That night, Mizuho struggles while working on her manga. Feeling frustrated with her inability to create something good, she worries again about what might happen if she starts to develop feelings for Kazuki. The following day at school, Mizuho's friend urgently informs her that the regional swimming competition has been canceled due to the pandemic. Explaining that many other sports teams are affected as well, her friend leaves Mizuho to process the news. Observing Kazuki, she notices that he is the only one not crying or visibly upset, which deepens her concern. Later in the classroom, Mizuho stays behind at school waiting for Kazuki. When he arrives, he admits that the cancellation of the regionals has been tough, but says it's something they can't change. Frustrated by his nonchalant attitude, Mizuho urges him not to downplay everything, especially his feelings. She tells him that he works so hard, and that she doesn't want him to ignore that. Kazuki, opening up for the first time, shares that he's been bottling up his emotions to appear strong. Crying in a rare moment of vulnerability, he hugs Mizuho and tells her not to say such kind things to him. Feeling conflicted, Mizuho comforts Kazuki and hugs him back. As they embrace, Kazuki assures her that he'll keep working hard and asks her to continue supporting him. Deep down, though, and even if she's comforting Kazuki, Mizuho decides that she can't let herself fall in love with her childhood best friend. Mizuho is talking to her friend Chika about Kawaguchi, and Mizuho realizes she's repeating the advice her old editor once gave her. Reflecting on her conversation with Kawaguchi, Mizuho admits she could have phrased things better but still feels Kawaguchi doesn't fully understand the situation. Chika, more skeptical, laughs at how Mizuho's response mirrors her old self, pointing out that meddling won't make Kawaguchi like her. Still determined to help, Mizuho asks if there's really nothing she can do. Chika suggests that the best course of action is to simply watch over Kawaguchi and wait for her to realize things on her own. Walking home, Mizuho reflects on how Chika had been there for her in a similar way even when Mizuho couldn't understand her own feelings or the hidden struggles around her. The scene shifts back to years ago, with Kazuki determinedly telling Mizuho that he'll continue working hard with his swimming practices and so Mizuho should watch him. Overwhelmed by her emotions, Mizuho thinks she can't fall for him, but before she can process further, she faints from overthinking, and it turns out Mizuho has a high fever. At the grocery store, Shugo and Eru discuss Mizuho's sudden fever. Concerned, Eru remarks how strange it is for Mizuho to get sick after what seemed like a simple moment. Meanwhile, Mizuho lies in bed, battling her high fever. At the store, Eru spots some ice cream he likes, and just then, Kazuki arrives carrying a large pile of groceries. Frustrated, Eru points out that it's too much, but Kazuki silently adds everything to his basket. Puzzled, Eru wonders about Kazuki's choices as Shugo inspects the items, noting how odd they are as gifts for a sick person. Realizing Kazuki is nowhere to be seen, Eru finds him in the fruit section, picking up bananas. Trying to make sense of it, Eru jokingly tells Kazuki to calm down, insisting Mizuho isn't a monkey. As the group leaves the store, they are confronted by Eru's old group of friends, which makes Eru uncomfortable. The friend teases Eru for his more polished appearance and questions if he's behaving well. Shugo urges Eru to ignore them, while Kazuki tells Eru they should leave. Eru thanked Kazuki and Shugo for protecting him, but he said that he was fine. But Eru's old friend continues expressing hurt over being abandoned and accusing Eru of tossing them aside like trash. Responding as cold as ever, and contrary to his usual jolly and loud personality, Eru acknowledges he's doing well and leaves without further discussion, indicating a mysterious rift he has with his old group of friends. Eru's old friends did not budge after that and let them leave. Standing on the bridge, Eru shouted loudly and angrily into the wind, questioning if it was possible to escape one's past. Shugo put his arms on Eru's shoulders and jokingly said he won't be able to escape and it's better for him to give up. But later on, Shugo, recalling Eru's wild middle school days of fighting and skipping classes and how he used to leave them to hang out with those bad guys, reminded him that running away wouldn't solve anything. Kazuki, offering a different view, said he admired both the rebellious Eru from the past and the person he was now, saying he turned out so cool now and back then. Touched with Kazuki's words and overcome with emotion, Eru hugged Kazuki and admitted he liked him too. Shugo, breaking the tension with humor, playfully demanded attention and that Eru should hug him too, lightening the mood. But the two ignored him and said they could share an ice cream on the way home. At home, Mizuho, still recovering from her fever, lies quietly in bed. Shin, harboring unspoken feelings for her, sits nearby watching over her as she sleeps. Observing her peaceful face, he gently places a hand on her forehead, noticing with relief that her fever has gone down. Whispering softly, he tells her not to make them worry so much, his voice filled with a mix of concern and affection. Leaning closer, Shin finds himself captivated by Mizuho's beauty. His gaze lingers on her serene expression, and without realizing it, he begins to lean in as if to kiss her. Caught in the moment, he hesitates, his emotions swirling as he inches closer. Just as he is about to act on his feelings, Mizuho stirs and slightly groans. Startled, Shin quickly pulls back, his face betraying a mix of embarrassment and panic. Standing up abruptly, he avoids her gaze and mumbles a hurried excuse, urging her to get more rest. Without waiting for a response, he leaves the room, and Mizuho, left alone, blinks in confusion, her mind still foggy from sleep and illness. Meanwhile, Shin steps into the hallway, leaning against the wall as he tries to collect himself. Reflecting on his impulsive actions, he questions what he was about to do and why he couldn't control his emotions. The next morning, Mizuho felt much better. Stepping out onto her balcony, she was surprised to see Shin waiting for her below. Smiling at the unexpected gesture, the two later took a walk by the ocean. During their stroll, Mizuho teased Shin about skipping school, her tone playful and light. In response, he surprised her by offering sandwiches from a local shop, which she absolutely liked. Sharing the simple treat, they enjoyed a light-hearted moment together, the sound of the waves providing a soothing backdrop. Hiding his feelings for Mizuho, Shin angrily asked Mizuho why couldn't she eat like a lady, which Mizuho just ignored. Enjoying their meal, Mizo, feeling energized, runs toward the water, urging Shin to join her. Though hesitant due to her recent illness, he eventually follows. Walking along the shore, Shin asks about her fever, prompting Mizuho to admit her confusion about her emotions. Revealing she doesn't think she's suited for romance, she laughs nervously. Shin, teasing her, suggests she should try it for herself, pulling her into a playful hug to demonstrate. Shin told her that if she hugged someone and her heart raced, that's when she would know that she loved that guy. Flustered and embarrassed, Mizuho tells Shin she can't breathe and suddenly pushes him away. Realizing he may have gone too far, Shin stays amused and tells her that it was a joke and she should not believe it, and Mizuho chases him angrily. At home, Shin washes Mizuho's feet to remove the sand from the beach. Shin attentively checks it, telling her not to move. Mizuho insists she's fine, joking that she can't get any cleaner. Just then, Kazuki arrives, surprised to see Shin already there, not knowing that Shin skipped school to be with Mizuho. Kazuki casually asks what they've been doing, but Shin brushes off the question and leaves. Turning to Mizuho, Kazuki checks on her, asking if her fever has subsided. Feeling a flutter in her chest, Mizuho wonders about the connection between her racing heart and Kazuki's presence. She remembers what Shin told him: if someone makes her heart flatter, it means that she loves that person. Lost in thought, she snaps back when Kazuki calls her name, quickly dismissing her distraction and running off in a hurry. Alone in her room, Mizuho reflects more on Shin's words, staring at her reflection in the mirror. Puzzled by her emotions, she wonders what's happening to her feelings. The scene shifts to the group taking a fun photo together on a vacation. Eru, excited, calls it a moment to remember their summer. Mizuho thanks the cameraman as everyone admires the picture. Commenting on how great they look, Mizuho teases Shin about showing him the photo. Shugo laughs at their playful exchange while Eru, talking to Kazuki, proudly boasts about styling Mizuho's outfit. Admitting Mizuho's wardrobe lacked variety, Eru claims credit for her makeup and outfit, beaming with pride. Eru asked Kazuki if Mizuho looked pretty, to which Kazuki silently agreed. Visiting the aquarium, the group enjoys the vibrant marine life. While exploring, Mizuho gets startled as a large fish swims too close, nearly hitting her. Eru, laughing, jokes that the fish must think she's food, leaving Mizuho confused and embarrassed. Admiring the fish, Mizuho's gaze shifts to Kazuki. Watching him quietly, she feels a wave of admiration. Noticing her gaze, Kazuki approaches, teasing her about inviting him and their friends on that trip to cheer him up for his canceled swimming competition. Mizuho quietly admits it, and Kazuki thanks her for her thoughtfulness. As they talk, Kazuki confesses that his heart is racing, surprising Mizuho. He explains it's because she's acting differently today. Flustered, Mizuho silently acknowledges that her own heart feels like it might burst from the unexpected emotions stirring within her. The moment leaves her feeling both excited and confused about her feelings. The scene shifts to Mizuho receiving her food and preparing to leave. Shugo calls out to her, asking if she has plans for the rest of the day. Caught off guard, Mizuho responds with a curious "why?" Shugo comments on the effort she put into her appearance, but Mizuho quickly denies it, brushing off his observation. Just then, the food counter announces Shugo's order. After collecting his food, he teases Mizuho about her expression, hinting that she might be hiding a secret. Shugo then later asked if she still didn't understand her own feelings, and if she was still so scared to know about her emotions. Shugo's insight surprises Mizuho, who asks how he knows so much about her. With a knowing smile, Shugo taps Mizuho's forehead and reveals that he's been paying attention to her since the beginning of their friendship. His words leave Mizuho stunned, realizing how perceptive he is about her emotions. Later, Eru suggests the group see a dolphin show and maybe catch a movie afterward. Turning to Kazuki, Shin asks him to choose, catching him off guard, but Eru reassures him that he can pick as he is their boss today. Kazuki hesitates, distracted by the sight of Mizuho and Shugo nearby. The brief interaction between them creates a moment of tension, leaving Kazuki thoughtful as he considers his next move. Attending the dolphin show, the group finds themselves splashed by water, leaving Eru joking about who decided that the front-seating arrangements would be ideal and Shin grumbling over being soaked. Shugo playfully teases Shin, lightening the mood. The moment takes a caring turn when Kazuki shields Mizuho from another splash. Mizuho, smiling, reassures him, telling him not to worry about her. Kazuki, looking thoughtful, then asks if she'd like to go somewhere alone with him after the show. This question triggers a memory of Shin's earlier words to Mizuho about understanding her feelings, leaving her deep in thought. After the show, the group heads to the station. Eru, brimming with excitement, eagerly asks Kazuki if he enjoyed himself. Shin, still annoyed about being too close to the front, grumbles about the seating for next time. Eru, unbothered by the complaints, happily talks about the great shots he captured during the show. As they walk, Shugo suddenly spots someone he recognizes, momentarily losing focus. He spots a middle-aged woman talking to a guy on the other side of the station. Mizuho notices and asks if something is wrong. Shugo brushes off her concern, admitting with a small smile that he's not so different from her after all. During the metro ride home, Eru enthusiastically offers to show everyone a video of the dolphins jumping. Shugo, now preoccupied with his readings, declines while Eru teases Shin about his interest in the video. Shin responds casually, keeping the conversation light as the station announcement signals their next stop. As the train becomes more crowded, Kazuki leans closer to Mizuho and quietly asks if she heard him earlier. Without waiting for a response, he gently takes her hand, pulling her toward the door. Suggesting they go somewhere just the two of them, Kazuki's warmth catches Mizuho off guard. Hesitating, she feels conflicted, but soon realizes that it's Kazuki's presence making her heart race. At that moment, she acknowledges her readiness to confront her feelings. Together, they step off the train, leaving the others behind as Mizuho takes a step toward clarity in her emotions. Mizuho is sitting by her window and she looks lost in thought and frustrated with something until the sudden burst of fireworks catches her attention. Recognizing the fireworks display as the annual show at Shinkai Stadium, she watched the colorful sparks fill the night sky. Her phone buzzed with a message from Iru, who jokingly mentioned her being busy on her birthday. He mentioned that it was currently 10 in the morning in his time, indicating that he must be in a different country, and she then wished her a happy birthday. Iru also mentioned an upcoming fireworks show at Koigahama that weekend, prompting Mizuho to recall how fireworks once held a special meaning for her. This memory took her back 10 years to a cherished moment when she watched fireworks with someone she deeply loved, a memory that still affected her emotionally. The scene shifted to Kazuki and Mizuho stepping off a train and leaving their friends behind. Watching from the moving train, Iru noticed them and commented on Kazuki's behavior, calling it the Kazuki Rebellion, and mentioning how he always kept Mizuho close to him since childhood, while Shin, looking skeptical, questioned why Kazuki was so attached to her. Shin then suggested they follow Kazuki and Mizuho, implying they should go after them. The scene transitioned to Green Garden Cafe, where Kazuki and Mizuho enjoyed drinks together. Kazuki, curious, asked if her drink was good and even took a sip of it himself. Mizuho protested playfully, but Kazuki smiled and commented that it felt like they were on a date. Flustered, Mizuho threatened to leave, but Kazuki held her hand and gazed at her, making her blush even more. Changing the subject, Kazuki told her about an upcoming swim meet organized by the swim club's coach and the third year. Mizuho, impressed and excited, encouraged him to keep doing his best. Kazuki kept holding Mizuho's hand, telling her that he needed him by his side. A flashback followed, showing their childhood. Mizuho had been absent from school for 2 weeks due to a personal loss. Iru and Shugo were concerned about how to cheer her up while Shin remained indifferent, mentioning he had to attend a cram school. Kazuki, worried about his test results, was reassured by Shugo, who encouraged him not to let his asthma discourage him and to keep working hard. The scene shifted briefly to Kazuki practicing swimming, followed by him walking alone the next day. He left a note to Mizuho saying she should come and watch him practice swimming. Watching Kazuki's dedication, Mizuho admired his progress and praised him, calling him amazing and cool. Motivated by his determination, Mizuho decided she would return to school the next day. Back in the present, Kazuki reflected on how his feelings for Mizuho had deepened over time. As he waited for her to finish paying the bill, Mizuho returned and apologized for keeping him waiting. However, she noticed a group of girls chatting with him. Noticing Mizuho, the girl assumes she's Kazuki's girlfriend. Denying it quickly, Mizuho tries to clear up the misunderstanding and Kazuki confirms her words but adds with confidence that Mizuho will be his girlfriend one day. Hearing this bold statement, the girl admires Kazuki's determination, leaving Mizuho flustered as she reflects on the moment. Realizing how her heart races when she's with Kazuki, Mizuho becomes confused by her own feelings. Switching scenes to a bookstore, Shin tells his friends to meet back in 20 minutes. Iru, unimpressed by Shin's studious suggestion, decides to head for the nearby arcade, mocking him for being a nerdy honor student. After Iru leaves, Shugo approaches Shin and teases him about his serious and focused persona. suggesting that Shin's dedication to academics stems from his desire to prevent Mizuho from experiencing the pain she felt related to her sick mother. Shugo guesses that Shin's goal of becoming a doctor is deeply connected to this desire. Playfully remarking that Shin has a cute side, Shugo advises him to stop hiding behind his perfect student image and be more upfront about his desires. Slightly annoyed but thoughtful, Shin reflects on Shugo's advice. The scene shifts to a metro station where Mizuho and Kizuki, waiting for their train, are surprised to see Shin as the train doors open. Teasing them, Shin comments on how Mizuho and Kizuki always seem to do whatever they want, though it's nothing new. As they ride the train, Mizuho reflects on how the day passed quickly, wondering if the summer is just going to end like this. Feeling it's been fun, but sensing that they could have done more, she falls into thoughtful silence. Kizuki, filled with determination, expresses his desire to make the most of the summer, so that when he looks back at 2020, he'll feel good about how he spent it. Shin, adding his perspective, mentions that while his life may not be as straightforward as theirs, he's still going through his own adolescent experiences. Teasingly, Mizuho asks if he's talking about love, but Shin dismisses her question quickly. Turning to Kizuki to share the moment, Mizuho finds that he has already fallen asleep. A bit later, Mizuho wistfully expresses that she wishes things could stay the same as they were when they were kids. Responding thoughtfully, Shin tells her it's impossible to remain in that innocent, carefree time forever. Expressing his desire to grow up and become an adult who can protect the people he cares about, Shin reveals a deeper side of himself. Understanding his point, Mizuho acknowledges that they can't hold onto their childhood forever, realizing the importance of moving forward. The scene shifts to Seagull Kindergarten, where Mizuho, Shin, Ayuru, and Shugo are helping to create a poster for the upcoming fireworks festival. Sitting on the small press-school chairs, they work diligently, adding colorful designs and creative details to the poster. Admiring their work, Kizuki's mother, who is a teacher in the kindergarten, praises how great it looks. Grateful for their help, Kizuki's mother explains how challenging it was to handle all the preparations on her own, especially with Kizuki preoccupied with his swimming club activities. Their teamwork lightens her load, and the group feels proud of their contribution to the festival preparations. Sharing news about the event, Kizuki's mother mentions that with the cancellation of the Koigahama fireworks, the local event has become something parents and children are eagerly looking forward to. Hearing this, Mizuho smiles warmly as Kizuki's mother relays a compliment from Mizuho's father, who often praises Mizuho's talents. Appreciating the kind words, Mizuho feels a sense of pride and gratitude. Observing their conversation, Shugo notices the familiar connection and curiously asks if Kizuki's mother is a childhood friend of Mizuho's father. Talking about Mizuho's father, Izumi recalls how cool he was back in the day and mentions that he still is. Curious, Mizuho asks for more details and Izumi smiles, emphasizing that her father is really cool. The scene shifts to a relaxing day at the beach, where Mizuho and her friends are enjoying themselves. Ayuru casually mentions that the fireworks display is scheduled for the same day as Kizuki's swim meet. Teasing Mizuho, she asks if she plans to talk to Saito-senpai, joking about Mizuho's dream of watching the fireworks with someone special. Mizuho denies it, but a lingering thought remains. Who does she really want to watch the fireworks with? Moving to the swimming competition, the girls enthusiastically cheer for both Kizuki and Saito. Remembering Kizuki's earlier words about giving his best in everything, Mizuho finds herself shouting encouragement for him. As the race concludes, the announcer declares that both Kizuki and Saito have broken their personal records. Mizuho reflects on Kizuki's determination, realizing how he always gives his all even in intense moments. After the race, Mizuho delivers gifts from herself, Ayuru, and Shin, along with a banana from Shugo. Kizuki thanks her with a big smile, expressing gratitude for always giving him snacks. As they hear the announcement for the next round, Mizuho wishes Kizuki good luck for his last 2 races. Before heading to the next event, Kizuki surprises Mizuho with a hug, saying that while he was swimming, he heard her voice. Energized by her support, he confidently declares that he is all fired up and ready to go all the way to the final relay. Later, Saito reflects on how their current times could have qualified them for the national competition. He also mentions his wish to be cheered on by Mizuho. Taken aback, Kizuki asks Saito if they can have a one-on-one match after the event, and Saito agrees with a smile. The scene shifts to Shin, who reports that they have finished securing the off-limits areas. Mizuho's father, lying on the ground, thanks him for his efforts. Concerned, Shin sprays something on Mizuho's father's back. Still lying down, Mizuho's father expresses how impressed he is by Shin, mentioning that he is smart and active on the student council. He then asks Shin if he knows what he wants to do in the future. Shin confidently answers that he aims to study medicine. Impressed, Mizuho's father jokes that he would feel relieved if someone like Shin became a doctor and married Mizuho. Taking the comment seriously, Shin asks if that means he could propose to Mizuho if he becomes a doctor. The unexpected question leaves Mizuho's father surprised and uncertain about how to respond. As night falls, excitement fills the air for the fireworks display. Shugo remarks that it's finally getting dark and wonders where Kazuki is, noticing his absence. Eiru mentions that Saito isn't around either. Mizuho wonders if their swim meet is finished by now. Mizuho keeps wondering if Kazuki is coming to see the fireworks. The scene shifts to Kazuki, who is preparing for a one-on-one race with Saito. Saito suggests they race a 100-meter freestyle, and Kazuki agrees with determination. Back at the fireworks festival, the countdown begins. Shin, watching the crowd with Mizuho, explains that her father was the driving force behind organizing the fireworks, working with teachers and parents to make it happen. As the fireworks display begins, everyone enjoys the vibrant colors lighting up the sky, while Saito and Kazuki are still racing their 100-meter freestyle. Turning to her father, Mizuho thanks him for his hard work. He responds with a heartfelt message, explaining how challenging it was to organize events this year due to numerous cancellations. Encouraging everyone to keep going despite the difficulties, he acknowledges that there will be many failures and heartbreaks but urges them never to give up. He ends with a motivational note about achieving an adolescence no one can compete with. With tears in her eyes, Mizuho reflects on her father's words and the beauty of the fireworks lighting up the sky. She wonders if Kazuki is watching them too, feeling as though even the deepest parts of her heart are shining brightly. Eiru wipes Mizuho's tears and comments that Kazuki and Saito are probably still at the pool, asking Mizuho if she's sure she wants to just stay and watch the fireworks instead of joining them. The scene then shifts to the present, where Shin, now a doctor, is leaving a hospital after his shift while holding a bouquet of sunflowers. Later, Mizuho notices Shin in his car and calls out to him. Responding with a warm smile, he says that he had been waiting for her. Shin is waiting in his car. Noticing Mizuho approaching, he rolls down the window and greets her, wishing her a happy birthday. He lightheartedly teases her for being late, playfully suggesting that she was probably lost in thoughts about work. Mizuho snaps back, insisting that she has plenty going on in her life too. When Shin is about to give a flower bouquet to Mizuho, Mizuho brings up the upcoming fireworks display at Koigahama. Her voice turns reflective as she recalls that it was the day everything between them changed. Lost in her thoughts, she becomes momentarily silent. Their conversation is interrupted when Shin's phone rings, informing him that the hospital needs him back. Mizuho reassures him that it's okay and that she already feels better after seeing him. As Shin drives off, he gets lost in thought. He realizes that he's always been chasing after Mizuho, never quite catching up. The scene shifts to the past during a lively fireworks festival. Eiru, noticing Mizuho deep in thought, questions whether she really wants to stay there. Without responding, Mizuho suddenly makes a decision and dashes off. Watching her departure, Shugo remarks that she's finally making a move, while Eiru comments on how much of a handful Mizuho can be. Running through the bustling festival crowd, Mizuho unexpectedly encounters Saito. Greeting her warmly, Saito asks if she came to see him. Mizuho lowers her gaze, unable to respond. Realizing the truth, Saito acknowledges that she is actually there for Kazuki. With an understanding yet teasing smile, he thanks her. Mizuho, confused, asks why he is thanking her. Saito explains that the words she once spoke to him at the bus stop had a profound impact on him, even though they hadn't fully understood them at the time. Looking back now, he appreciates the sincerity behind her words. Before parting, he casually mentions that Kazuki won the race. Mizuho was confused but said nothing further. Determined, she continues running. She remembers how she used to be drawn to Saito, but now everything feels different. Something has shifted within her heart. Eventually, she arrives at a quiet pool where she finds Kazuki lying in the water. Alarmed, she calls out to him, her voice filled with concern. Without hesitation, she jumps into the pool. Startled by her sudden action, Kazuki questions what she is doing. Overwhelmed by her emotions, Mizuho demands to know why he never showed up at the festival. She admits that she had wanted to watch the fireworks with him. As the fireworks light up, they float together in the water. Kazuki comments on how beautiful the fireworks are. Meanwhile, Mizuho's thoughts drift further. Envisioning the future, she imagines herself 10 years, even 20 years from now. In that moment of clarity, she knows one thing for certain. She wants Kazuki by her side forever. After a while, Mizuho suddenly realizes what she's done, groaning in frustration. Jumping into the water without thinking wasn't her best decision. Kazuki, still chuckling, teases her for the dramatic belly flop, saying it's been a long time since he's seen one like that. Kazuki places a towel over her head, reminding her that she'll catch a cold if she stays wet. Touched by the gesture, Mizuho thanks him before noticing that Kazuki is just as drenched. She asks him to squat down and he obliges. As they sit there, dripping wet, Kazuki brings up what she said earlier, that she wanted to watch the fireworks with him. Curious, he presses further, asking why she wanted that. Slowly leaning toward each other, they are just about to kiss when a loud voice interrupts them. Shugo and Eiru approach excitedly, announcing that they brought ice cream. Iru looks around, puzzled, wondering where Mizuho and Kizuki went. Shugo, just as confused, notes that they're nowhere to be seen. Meanwhile, Mizuho and Kizuki have quickly hidden behind the corner of a wall. Mizuho tries to speak, but Kizuki gestures for her to stay silent. Both of them hold their breath, listening as Iru assumes they're not around. Shugo suggests they might have gone home. Shin, on the other hand, quietly picks up on something. He glances down and notices the wet slippers of Mizuho and Kizuki. His sharp eyes linger on the evidence, hinting that he's aware that they are in a hiding spot. The scene then shifts to Kizuki and Iru posing for a photo while Shin and Shugo snap pictures of them. As the picture is uploaded online, Shugo watches it quickly gain attention, amazed by the flood of likes and comments. Shin remarks on Iru's popularity as a well-known influencer. Iru brushes it off, acting as if it's nothing special. Randomly, Iru spots a picture of Mizuho wearing glasses while focused on drawing her manga. Grinning mischievously, Iru snaps a picture and jokingly names it the defeated soldier with glasses. Both Iru and Shugo burst into laughter. Irritated, Mizuho snaps at them, demanding to know why there's a photo shoot happening in her room. She angrily tells them to leave. Iru, still amused, tries to calm her down, suggesting that a little change of mood isn't a bad thing. However, Mizuho insists she doesn't have time for distractions as she has only 20 days left before the manga competition. Mizuho quickly decides to get rid of Iru and Shugo, asking them to buy her an eraser and pen nibs. On the other hand, Kizuki, picking up Mizuho's manga, casually flips through its pages. His eyes catch a particular scene, reading out loud something about a kiss. Mizuho instantly recalls the moment at the pool, and she lunges forward, desperately trying to snatch the manga back from Kizuki. Dodging playfully, Kizuki laughs as she chases him around while Shin watches them. Just as she starts to concentrate, Iru and Shugo disrupt her again, much to her irritation. Time passes and night falls. The room grows quieter, with Mizuho remaining dedicated to her work. Her focus remains sharp until a knock on the door interrupts her. To her surprise, it's Shugo who steps in instead. Shocked that she still hasn't bathed, he looks at her incredulously. Assuming he must have forgotten something, she questions his unexpected visit. Instead, he hands over the items she had requested earlier. Mizuho, surprised that he actually bought them, thanks him for the effort. Shrugging off her gratitude, Shugo mimics her previous tone, playfully repeating her words from earlier. Embarrassed, Mizuho insists she didn't say it that way but appreciates his effort nonetheless. As Shugo prepares to leave, he pauses to ask if she needs anything else. Seizing the opportunity, Mizuho asks if he can be on eraser duty for her. Shugo agrees, taking the eraser from her hand. But just then, Shugo's phone buzzes with a message and mutters that his older brother is coming home. The scene shifts to Shugo, now reluctantly cleaning out his older brother's room. Frustrated, he grumbles that his life is over. Having assumed the room was his for good, he now faces the unexpected challenge of clearing it out. Standing nearby, Shin listens to Shugo's whining with a stoic expression. He reminds Shugo that they are there to help. Kizuki, moving around the room, his foot accidentally struck something on the floor, causing an adult magazine to slide into view. Freezing in shock for a moment, Kizuki stood still. Without hesitation, Shin swiftly grabbed the magazine and tossed it into the trash, relieved that Mizuho wasn't part of this messy scene. Shugo, quickly protesting, clarified that the magazine belonged to his brother and not him. Shifting to a mall, two girls casually chatted as they strolled through the stores. One of them suddenly noticed someone attractive and pointed him out. Taking a closer look, they recognized it was Iru. Meanwhile, Iru stood outside a dressing room, impatiently calling out to Mizuho and asking if she was ready yet. From inside, Mizuho grumbled, questioning why she was being forced to try on outfits. Iru, unfazed by her protests, told her to stop whining and just put the outfit on. Reluctantly stepping out of the dressing room, Mizuho stood awkwardly. Iru was momentarily stunned into silence. Mizuho pressed him to say something, insisting that flowy outfits didn't suit her. However, Iru bluntly disagreed, telling her she looked super cute. Back in Shugo's room, Shin and Kizuki remained focused on their tasks while Shugo became distracted, flipping through an old book. Pausing on a particular page, he reminisced about Naomi from class 6-3, recalling how he once kissed her in the schoolyard. Annoyed by Shugo's distractions, Shin sternly told him to stop rambling and be useful. Shugo, dismissing the scolding, claimed that reminiscing was important. Shin, unimpressed, states that he would only kiss someone he actually liked. Kizuki agreed, backing Shin up. Sighing dramatically, Shugo remarked that popular guys like Shin and Kizuki just thought differently. Shugo passionately declared that the thrill of romance didn't come from being the main character in a love story, but rather from watching it unfold as a bystander. Explaining his theory, he described how, in many love stories, the girl was initially interested in someone else. However, when things didn't progress, she would eventually turn to her reliable friend, the bystander. With dramatic conviction, Shubo declared that he would continue falling in love with many people until the day he died. Unmoved, Shin bluntly tells Shubo to stop talking and clean. Sighing in defeat, Shubo finally gets back to work. At the mall, Aira is occupied with a phone call while Mizuho handles the payment for her purchases. Finishing up, Aira overhears two girls talking. One girl seems annoyed, questioning why Mizuho is with someone like Aira. One of them comments that Mizuho acts more important than she really is. Stepping in front of them, Aira confidently cuts off their path and tells them that Mizuho is cute and claims she's his girlfriend. Leaning in slightly, he tells them to keep it a secret. Giggling, they agree and walk away, thrilled by Aira's attention. Watching them disappear into the crowd, Aira replays the word girlfriend and he looks at a picture of Kizuki. He mutters an apology, admitting to himself that he had just told a lie. Meanwhile, back in Shugo's room, he continues sorting through the clutter. Picking up an old book, a childhood photograph slips out and falls to the floor. It's a picture of him and Mizuho from when they were younger. Shugo stares at it for a moment before quickly picking it up and hiding it, his expression unreadable. Kizuki, still thinking about their earlier conversation, suddenly asks Shugo if there was ever someone he truly fell in love with. Hearing the question, Shugo answers that he's into older women at the moment. Kizuki watches him skeptically but chooses not to press further. Later at a park, Mizuho sits on a bench, sketching in her manga notebook. After finishing a drawing, she turns it toward Aira, showing him her progress. Looking at it, he suddenly bursts into laughter. Mizuho thanks him, explaining that even though she hadn't made much progress on her manuscript, spending time with him helped clear her mind. She shared that she had been feeling overwhelmed lately, but being here made her feel better. After a brief pause, Aira changes the subject, asking her about the fireworks from the other night. He wonders who she ended up watching them with. Caught off guard, Mizuho hesitates before answering. Aira continues, speculating whether it was Saito or Kizuki who was with her. With an annoying tone, he asks if she has realized her true feelings. Hesitating again, Mizuho responds vaguely and asks what Aira would do if she had figured out her feelings. Aira replies that he wouldn't do anything. He explains that openly pursuing someone he truly liked could ruin their current relationship. Instead of risking everything, he would rather stay friends. To him, being by the person he liked forever was more important, even if it meant watching from a distance. The scene shifts to Mizuho's room, where everyone is gathered looking at a picture she has just drawn. The atmosphere is light, but Shugo begins to feel out of place. Mizuho, noticing that Shugo's leaving, asks him to bring her a cola. Shugo responds casually and agrees. In the kitchen, away from the others, Shugo pulls out the childhood picture of himself and Mizuho. His expression shifts slightly as he quietly mutters to himself that staying friends for now is the better choice. Walking up the stairs, Mizuho looks up at the sky, pausing as thoughts of Kizuki fill her mind. Wondering if he still has any regrets, she speaks her thoughts aloud. The scene shifts to the past, showing Aira cutting Mizuho's hair at his house. Asking her to stay still, he reassures her to trust his skills. Noticing his shaking hands, Mizuho points it out. Accidentally cutting too much, Aira panics but quickly brushes it off. From the kitchen, Aira's mother asks Mizuho if she prefers steak or eel for dinner. Responding that either option sounds good, Mizuho surprises Aira and Shugo, who remember her saying Shugo's dad's pizza was the best. Laughing, she explains that meals eaten together matter the most, reminding her that this arrangement will only last until her father returns from his business trip. Interrupting, Shugo requests his steak medium rare, only for Aira's mother to teasingly remind him that he wasn't invited. Walking home while talking to her father on the phone, Mizuho tells him she had dinner at Aira's house. Mentioning that he'll return next week, he adds that even though Oban will be over by then, they can visit her mother's grave together. Suddenly, Kizuki runs up from behind, calling out to her. Asking if she was at Aira's house, he waits for her confirmation. Then, questioning her plans for tomorrow, he listens as Mizuho said she'll be at Shin's house. Prompting her to come to his house instead, Kizuki watches as Mizuho hesitates. Remembering Aira's words about wanting to stay by the person he likes forever, but only as a friend, she brushes off Kizuki's question without explanation. A barking dog distracts them, and Mizuho immediately runs over to cuddle Shin's dog, Shinchin. Asking what time she'll be coming over tomorrow, Shin listens as Mizuho confirms she'll be there by 6. Leaving after hearing her answer, Shin walks past Kizuki, while Kizuki wonders why Mizuho is willing to go to Shin's house but not his. The scene shifts to Mizuho working on her manga. Watching her friend Chika reacts with surprise, questioning what she just heard. Hesitating, Mizuho admits that she's been having dinner with the boys of Koigahama Highlands. Pointing out that Mizuho is comfortable visiting other boys' houses while avoiding Kizuki's, Chika jokingly calls her foolish. Accusing her of knowing her true feelings for Kizuki, she presses for a response. Denying it, Mizuho insists that she doesn't see Kizuki that way. Unconvinced, Chichiko warns her, insisting that if she keeps claiming Kazuki is just a childhood friend, someone else might end up with him. Pressing further, she asks Mizuho if she truly wants to just be friends with Kazuki. Responding firmly, Mizuho insists that being just friends is fine with her. At Shin's house, she sits at the dinner table, looking distracted. Noticing this, Shin's mother asks if something is wrong or if the food isn't to her liking. Quickly finishing her bowl, Mizuho assures her that the meal is delicious, even asking for a second serving. Feeling relieved, Shin's mother mentions that there's dessert later, making Mizuho excited. Bringing up Mizuho's father being away for the week, Shin's mother kindly offers her the use of their bath. Happily accepting, Mizuho smiles. Shin's younger brother playfully suggests that Mizuho should stay overnight, marry him, and live with their family. Laughing, Mizuho tells him she'll leave once she finishes her summer homework. Just then, their dog, Shinshin, knocks over a glass of water onto Mizuho's clothes. Shin's younger brother quickly points it out, calling it just Shin. Scolding Shin, his mother assumes it was his fault. Defending himself, Shin clarifies that the dog caused the accident and not him. Frustrated, he complains about the dog's confusing name. Mizuho, cuddling Shinshin, defends the name, explaining that since the dog belongs to Shin, calling it Shinshin makes sense. Teasing the dog affectionately, she remarks that it's cute even as it grows up, unlike its owner. Embarrassed, Shin tells her to stop saying that. Heading upstairs, Shin is surprised to find Mizuho already inside his room. Trying on one of his jackets, she asks what he thinks, explaining that she's borrowing it because it looks cute. Scolding her, Shin reminds her that she entered his room without permission. Casually, Mizuho comments that the jacket smells nice. Flustered, Shin snaps that it doesn't suit her and tells her to go home if she's done changing. Turning to leave, Mizuho reminds him that he promised to help her with her homework. Walking away, Shin replies that he's heading to the convenience store, but his face turns red as he steps outside. Meanwhile, approaching from behind, Kazuki asks if Shin is going to the store. Before leaving, Kazuki asks if Mizuho has already gone home. Casually, Shin mentions that Mizuho said she's spending the night at his house. Hearing this, Kazuki's expression changes, sadness flashing across his face. Remembering a moment from middle school, Shin recalls when Mizuho excitedly told him they were in the same class, calling it lucky. Kazuki followed them, saying he wanted to be in the same class as Mizuho. Scolding him, Mizuho held his hand and said that Kazuki was in class 6 and should follow Shubo instead. Teasing him about his open bag, Mizuho told him to be more responsible now that they were in middle school, while Shin said nothing, quietly watching them walk off together. Reflecting on the past, Shin realizes he hasn't changed at all and walks home. Arriving at his house, he notices Mizuho's shoes at the entrance and understands that she hasn't left yet. Finding her asleep at his desk, Shin tries to wake Mizuho, but she remains deeply asleep. Giving up, he gently places a blanket over her. Murmuring in her sleep, Mizuho softly asks if they will always stay friends, which bothers and frustrates Shin so much. Waking up the next morning, Mizuho panics upon realizing she is still at Shin's house. Embarrassed, she understands that she must have fallen asleep. Reminding her that he had told her to go home, Shin sighs and says he gives up. Pulling off his shirt, he catches Mizuho off guard. Telling her that they should stop being friends, he explains that staying just friends is impossible after spending the night together. Asking what she really thinks of him, he is about to make a confession, but Mizuho interrupts him and apologizes, cutting off what he is about to say. Explaining that she feels comfortable around him, she insists she didn't mean to take advantage of him by relying on him for her summer assignments. Admitting her fears, she says she worries about him leaving or hating her. Unsure of how she would handle it. Laughing, Shin teases her about making an ugly face when she cries. Reassuring her, he says that even if he wanted to hate her, he couldn't. Heading off for a shower, he tells her not to forget breakfast and jokingly calls her foolish. Later, Mizuho and her father visit her mother's grave. Apologizing for the late visit, she prays quietly. Heading back home, she hears Iru calling out to her. Mentioning that Shin's mother wants them to wear yukata on the last day of summer, he invites her along. That night, the group walks along the beach together. Thanking Shin for lending her his jacket, Mizuho happily says she will wash it and return it. Watching the exchange, Kazuki feels jealous. Wondering if there will be a summer festival next year, Mizuho looks hopeful. Shugo, pointing towards the ocean, draws attention to the glowing water. Exclaiming about the sparkling sea, Iru notes how long it has been since they last saw it. Trying to call Mizuho, Shin pauses, noticing her heading upstairs toward Kazuki. Walking toward Kazuki, Mizuho notices him struggling with his belt. Laughing, she points out that he has always been a little off, just like when he used to leave his bag open. Teasing him, she pats his head and jokes that he has been a handful since childhood. Grabbing her hands, Kazuki suddenly admits that he left his bag open on purpose. Smiling, Kazuki confesses that he did it so she would always pay attention to him. Meanwhile, Eru and Shugo play near the ocean while Shin quietly watches Mizuho and Kazuki from a distance. Turning back to Mizuho, Kazuki tells her that he figured out why she went to the pool during the fireworks and why she avoided visiting only his house. It's because she already likes him. Blushing at his words, Mizuho struggles to respond. Before she can say anything, Shugo calls out to her. Quickly excusing herself, she rushes to join the others. Walking along the beach, Ira reminisces how they play a confession game every time they witness the glowing seawater. Shugo agrees and eagerly shares his own secret, that he has a mole on the back of his ear. Claiming that it gives him a sexy and dangerous vibe, he waits for their reactions. Instead of agreement, everyone looks at him in confusion. When it's Shin's turn, he hesitates before admitting that he missed watching the summer special 24 Hours with Fluffy Wuffy Kitty Cat when Mizuho stayed the night at his house. Now it's Mizuho's turn to share. Smiling, Mizuho then decides to reveal something more personal. Her yukata belonged to her mother. She shares that earlier in the day she had visited her mother's grave, updating her mother on her life. Reflecting on her daily experiences, Mizuho speaks about how Shin always coldly tells her to study, how Eru constantly judges her outfits, how Shugo meddles in her business, and how Kazuki is often lost in his own world, stressing her out. Despite these frustrations, she realizes that every day has been lively and full of fun. Smiling warmly, she admits that she no longer feels lonely. Turning to her friends, she thanks them for always being by her side. Patting her head gently, Eru reassures her that he will join her on shopping trips again. Grinning, Shugo declares that he will continue meddling in her life forever. Speaking bluntly, Shin states that he doesn't like foolish women, leaving Mizuho confused and demanding an explanation. Hesitating for a moment, Kazuki says he might continue to give more trouble to Mizuho. He finally decides to reveal this secret, saying that he loves someone. Just as he is about to confess who it is, Mizuho quickly interrupts, changing the topic by suggesting they get ice cream. Standing there, Kazuki feels ignored and disappointed as Mizuho runs off to get the ice cream. Splashing water at Kazuki, Shugo playfully scolds him for being too serious. Encouraging him to swim, he reminds Kazuki that it's his favorite activity. Shocking everyone, Eru casually reveals that he confessed his feelings to Mizuho back in middle school. Distracted at the store, Mizuho keeps hearing Kazuki's confession replaying in her mind. Lost in thought, she doesn't realize the cashier is speaking to her. Checking her bag, she realizes she left her wallet back at the port. Panicking, she wonders what to do. Just then, someone behind her offers to pay, commenting that she bought too much food. Turning around, Mizuho is surprised to see Tugo standing there. After paying with his phone, Tugo walks out of the store with her. Smiling, Tugo asks if Shugo didn't mention he'd be coming home. Confirming she had no idea, Mizuho listens as Tugo compliments her, saying she has changed a lot and has become even cuter. Sometime in the future, Mizuho sits alone in her company's break area, a long, contemplative look on her face. Mr. Yamamoto approaches, offering to lend an ear for the duration of their break. She hesitates, but after some convincing, finally opens up. One of the mangas she's been working on has been cancelled, causing her distress over a cancelled project. She feels defeated. Mr. Yamamoto, however, reassures her that failures happen, but they can always pick themselves up again. Feeling a little better, Mizuho admits that talking to him reminds her of her younger days when she was more outgoing and confident. She fondly recalls always having a group of friends to support her. As they look out the window, they spot a pair of high school students eagerly chatting with each other. Mr. Yamamoto makes a lighthearted comment about how precious youth is, something to be cherished while it lasts. One evening during a lively festival, finally drops a bombshell to the guys. He once confessed to Mizuho back in middle school. The other guys immediately turn their attention to him, curiosity piqued. He laughs it off, playfully splashing water at them, saying it's all in the past. But Kazuki is clearly shaken by the revelation. Meanwhile, Mizuho and Togo spend time together. Out of nowhere, Togo compliments her, telling her she's grown cuter than before and wondering if she's found someone to love. At that moment, Kazuki's image flashes in her mind, though she denies having feelings for anyone. Togo then recalls how Mizuho used to confess her love to him constantly when they were younger. Seeing a dreamy look cross Mizuho's face, Togo suddenly steps closer, gently cupping her cheek in his hand. With a serious expression, he asks who's responsible for her adorable expression. He leans in even closer until Shugo yanks Mizuho away, scolding Togo and calling him out for just being her first crush and finding ways to take advantage of her. The rest of the boys arrive just in time to witness the scene. Shugo positions himself protectively in front of Mizuho, glaring at his older brother. Togo, sensing the tension, decides not to push any further and decides to walk with them towards their neighborhood. As they walk, Shugo, Togo, and Mizuho move slightly ahead of the others. Noticing Kazuki oddly silent, casually checks in on him. He suspects Kazuki is unsettled. After all, Mizuho's first crush is back in town, and it's hard to ignore. Meanwhile, Shugo remains determined to keep Togo away from Mizuho, calling him out for being a pervert and taking advantage of her. But then, an old memory surfaces in his mind, one from when they were kids. Mizuho had once praised him for reading a difficult book. She had borrowed his glasses to try reading it herself, only to struggle with the words. That moment had sparked something in him. With youthful innocence, he had proposed to her right then and there. But even back then, Mizuho had her heart set on someone else. Without hesitation, she had told him she wanted to marry Togo instead. However, Togo had bluntly told her that he wasn't interested in her. To cheer her up, he had patted her head reassuringly, promising to think about it when she was older. At school, Shugo spends time with Manami as she practices the piano. He claims he just wants to chat, but Manami remains suspicious since he usually spends lunch elsewhere. Turning the tables, Shugo asks why she isn't playing Someday My Prince Will Come, a piece she often plays. Manami simply says she isn't in the mood. Sensing an opportunity, Shugo confronts her. He admits that he saw her with a man at the train station during summer vacation and asks if that was her boyfriend. Manami refuses to answer, gets up, and reminds him she is an adult and a teacher, having no interest in a high school student like himself. Her tone is firm, leaving Shugo in the room alone. Shugo stares after her even after the door closes. He is painfully reminded of how easily Mizuho rejected him when they were younger, opting to like his brother more than him. But rather than feeling discouraged, he grows confident. He has used a heartbreak and is determined to win Manami over. The next morning, as students chatter animatedly in the classroom, Mizuho hunches over her desk, trying to savor the last bit of relaxation before class. Kazuki and Shin approach her, worried she spent the entire evening working on her manga rather than sleeping. Kazuki offers encouragement, confident that her manga will be accepted, while Shin remains strict, emphasizing the importance of rest. Suddenly, the class is called to attention. Their instructor announces a new intern teacher. To Mizuho, Shin, and Kazuki's shock, it's Togo. He introduces himself, stating he will be in charge of their PE classes. Mizuho stiffens at the idea her former crush will be close to her. During PE, Togo dominates a basketball game against the boys. The girls cheer from the sidelines, excited to have such a handsome teacher instructing them in their physical classes. Kazuki, Shugo, and Shin grow frustrated, especially Shugo, who hates how his brother loves showing off. Ero tries to lighten the mood, especially since Kazuki struggles with ball sports. Then their attention shifts to Mizuho, who hasn't slept in 3 days. Just as they turn, they witness her collapse after getting hit by a ball. Kazuki starts toward her but stops when he sees Togo already sprinting. Togo holds Mizuho surprisingly close, his arms secure around her shoulders as he urges her to rest. Mizuho blinks up at him, disoriented. Kazuki's heart clenches painfully. The other guys remain suspicious, while the girls swoon over Togo's heroics. Meanwhile, Chika remains unimpressed, muttering under her breath, calling Togo creepy. By the end of the school day, Mizuho, Shugo, and Iroh make their way to the post office to submit Mizuho's manuscript, but Mizuho struggles to climb the steep hill. Seeing her struggle, Shugo carries her manuscript while Iroh pulls her along, making it easier for her to keep up. To their luck, they make it in time. The lady at the front promises that she can have it posted using today's date, meaning Mizuho had reached the deadline. Mizuho slides to the ground, relieved that she had submitted her work before the deadline. Now it's all up to fate whether her manga will win or not. At school, Togo tries to offer Shin a piece of candy, pressing the treat against his face, but Shin only finds his actions annoying. He had only come to the office to submit the student council's budget proposals for the term and was not expecting to talk to Togo. However, one of the teachers informs him that a large portion of the budget needs to be transferred to next year, as the school has decided not to hold a festival this year due to the pandemic. Suddenly, Shin's heart begins to shatter, but outwardly, he maintains a blank expression. He politely accepts the revision, but Togo senses that something is off. The sun is already setting as Shugo and Iroh walk Mizuho home. She is visibly exhausted, but still manages to hurriedly thank them. Before entering her house, she informs them that the contest winner will be announced next month. Finally, in her room, Mizuho collapses onto her bed. As exhaustion settles in, thoughts of her mother suddenly invade her mind. She recalls the warmth of her mother's home-cooked meals and the excitement she felt waiting for her to return so she could show off her drawings. But then, as quickly as those memories come, they shift to the painful moment when her mother was taken from her. She remembers one particular evening when she was feeling especially down. Her friends had surprised her with an unexpected visit, eagerly inviting her to play with them. They even brought snacks and offered to entertain in an attempt to cheer her up. She vividly remembers Shin checking over her homework and gently scolding her for only answering the questions she knew. It was as if they had all decided without saying a word that they would not let her be alone in her sadness. Mizuho was shocked back then. The boys should have been asleep in their own homes, yet they were there, playing in her room as if it were the most natural thing in the world. Tears had built up in her eyes, overwhelmed by their kindness. Shugo had noticed and pointed it out, but Mizuho quickly denied it, unwilling to admit how much it meant to her. Kazuki rushes to Mizuho's room, worried since he hadn't joined the group on their trip to submit her manuscript. Upon entering, he finds the rest of his friends already there. Watching over a sleeping Mizuho, with a serene smile on her face. The group lounges around her room, all happy that she made the deadline. Shugo fondly recalls how Mizuho asked for his help erasing pencil drafts during school hours. Eru laughs, mentioning that Mizuho had sent him on so many errands that he ended up befriending the clerk at the art supply shop and even received their cute loyalty card. Their gazes then soften as they look at Mizuho, still smiling blissfully in her sleep, a well-earned rest finally embracing her. The boys couldn't help but admire Mizuho in moments like this. There was something about the way she threw herself into her dreams so wholeheartedly, as if nothing could stand in her way. She had an energy that radiated determination, pushing forward no matter the obstacles. It was a quality that made her shine in their eyes, quiet envy settling in Shugo's chest as he acknowledged how easily she pursued her ambitions. Later that evening, Mizuho's father arrived home with a box of donuts, hoping to share the treat with Mizuho. However, stepping into his daughter's room, he was met with an unexpected but heartwarming sight. Scattered around her, her closest friends lay fast asleep, exhaustion finally pulling them under. A fond smile crossed his face as he took in the scene. Setting the box of donuts on the table for them, he took a quiet step back, silently thanking them for being there. The weekend arrives with golden sunlight spilling over the shoreline. The rhythmic crash of waves and the salty scent of the ocean fills the air as the boys decide to enjoy the waves. Shin and Kazuki took to the water with ease, effortlessly navigating the waves, their years of practice making it look almost effortless. Shugo, however, remained stuck on the shore, forced into an unwelcome task of massaging Togo's back. Shugo grumbles under his breath, his desperate plea for Iru to take his place is met with feigned ignorance. Kazuki eventually makes his way back to shore, disappointment settling in his expression. The absence of a certain someone did not go unnoticed. Iru had been trying to call her, but the calls remained unanswered. Mizuho had pushed herself too hard and was likely still asleep, the exhaustion from her sleepless nights finally catching up to her. Togo, who had been lounging in the sand, finally rose to his feet, stretching his arms lazily as he gazed out at the waves. He had hoped to show off a little to draw her attention. Over the years, she had changed, growing into someone impossible to ignore. It wasn't surprising that her presence had started to stir emotions in those closest to her. However, he guesses that one of the guys might be dating her, which has caused Mizuho to suddenly bloom. The boys are thrown off guard, and Shugo is the first to deny that any of them are dating her. Seeing that the boys are still hiding their feelings from her, he slaps them with the cold truth that if none of them decide to make a move on her, a guy will eventually come and steal her away from them, and it's very possible that he too will try to win her over. Seeing that he got the point across, he leaves towards the sea to do some surfing. An older Mizuho returns to her childhood home, intending to pick up a few belongings. As she rummages through her closet, she spots a slightly worn box labeled "Important Things." Curiosity tugs at her, and with a small smile, she decides to indulge in a moment of nostalgia. Lifting the lid, she finds a collection of old manga drafts. Beneath some of the drafts, she discovers a bundle of old photographs. As her eyes settle on one particular image, her fingers linger over Kazuki's face. A bittersweet ache rises in her chest as she recalls a promise he once made to her. For a fleeting moment, she wonders why he isn't the one standing by her side anymore. The day after their beach outing, Mizuho finally arrives, visibly upset that her friends had gone without her. She had been looking forward to spending time with them, only to sleep through the entire day due to exhaustion. In an attempt to make it up to her, Togo offers to take her for a drive the following day as a way to both apologize and celebrate her hard work. Mizuho, always eager for good food and a fun outing, excitedly agrees. As the conversation unfolds, Kazuki suddenly realizes that Togo has just secured himself a date with Mizuho right in front of them. The realization unsettles him, but with his club activities scheduled, there is no way for him to join. The other boys also have prior engagements, leaving Mizuho and Togo alone for the outing. Hoping to find another solution, Kazuki attempts to persuade Shugo to tag along, but Shugo dismisses the idea outright, expressing no desire to spend any more time with his older brother than necessary. The next day, just as Mizuho is about to step into the front passenger seat of Togo's car, Shugo unexpectedly shoves her toward the back seat and sits right next to her. In the end, he had begrudgingly decided to join them, not just because the others were concerned about Mizuho being alone with Togo, but also because the idea of his brother spending time alone with her didn't sit right with him. As they travel through the area, they find the usually crowded tourist spots are now pleasantly quiet due to the ongoing pandemic. Without the usual flood of visitors, they have the rare chance to take in the sights at a leisurely pace, enjoying their time together. However, Togo's attempts to get closer to Mizuho are consistently interrupted by Shugo, who somehow manages to place himself between them at every opportunity. At one point, they stop at Mizuho's favorite takoyaki stand for a quick snack. Noticing a bit of seaweed on Mizuho's face, Togo reaches out to wipe it away, but Shugo reacts faster. He swiftly maneuvers himself between them, causing Togo's hand to land awkwardly on his face instead. Their next stop takes them to a large aquarium, where Mizuho becomes completely enthralled by the vibrant marine life. As they wander through the exhibits, Togo and Shugo eventually attract the attention of a group of girls who recognize them. The two brothers easily fall into conversation and agree to pose and take photos with the girls. Mizuho, observing from a distance, realizes that the two brothers are handsome and tend to attract attention wherever they go. As Mizuho watches Shugo easily flirt with the older women who approached him, she can't help but feel a strange pang of curiosity. When the girls leave, she casually questions his type, wondering if he has a preference for older women since Kizuki had mentioned it to her before. He attempts to remind her that she rejected him when they were kids, and because of that, his type has completely changed. As they continue their outing, they stop by a small gift shop. Mizuho's eyes land on a manta ray keychain, its small, simple design reminding her of Kizuki. She picks it up, turning it over in her hands, contemplating whether to buy it for him. Meanwhile, back at school, Shin adjourns the student council meeting, feeling a quiet disappointment in the air. Several members express their frustration over the cancellation of the school festival. Their excitement for the event is now replaced with resignation. A council member approached him after the meeting, informing him that some clubs had tried to protest the decision to cancel the event, but ultimately left after she managed to intercept them. Even though none of the councils blame Shin since the decision is out of his hands, he can't help but feel inadequate. As the student body's leader, he had been powerless to change the outcome, and that failure weighed heavily on him. Elsewhere, Iru is still in the middle of a professional photo shoot, effortlessly striking poses as the photographer praises his natural charm and good looks. During a short break, his eyes land on someone familiar, Tuya, a person he had known from his middle school days assisting the photography team. A flood of memories rushes back. Back then, Tuya had helped him during a rough time, but had ultimately encouraged him to return to his original friend group rather than sticking around with him. Seeing him now, Iru can't believe that they are working together. Back at the shopping district, as Mizuho purchases some taiyaki, the two brothers engage in a deeper discussion. Togo, sensing something unspoken in Shugo's demeanor, directly questions his feelings for Mizuho. He points out how the other boys seem to trust Shugo the most when it comes to her, relying on him to keep her safe without ever considering that he might be a rival for her affection. Shugo denies it, claiming that Mizuho and him are just good friends. Their conversation is interrupted when Mizuho, holding a bag of fresh taiyaki, rushes toward them. Just then, a biker speeds past, far too close for comfort. Without thinking, Shugo swiftly pulls Mizuho aside, his arms securing her before she can stumble. At the moment, he notices her undone shoelaces. Bending down, he instinctively ties them for her. But as he does, Togo's words echo in his mind. He had convinced himself for years that he no longer harbored feelings for Mizuho, yet something about this moment, the simple act of protecting her, of looking after her the way he always had, caused uncertainty to creep into his heart. The car ride home is weighed down by an unfamiliar tension. Mizuho and Shugo both seem preoccupied, though neither addresses it. As Togo stops at a red light, a small object slips from Mizuho's bag, the manta ray keychain. Shugo immediately notices and after a brief pause tells her she should give it to Kizuki. He points out that she's been thinking of Kizuki all day, whether she realizes it or not. Mizuho, perhaps sensing a shift in the atmosphere, decides to lighten the mood. Playfully, she grabs Shugo's glasses and puts them on. She remarks that Shugo has always been special, someone who sees things about her that she herself doesn't notice. She expresses her gratitude, admitting that Shugo is always looking after her, even in ways she doesn't fully understand. Suddenly overwhelmed, Shugo quickly demands that the car stop. Flustered, he grabs his glasses back, his face warm from embarrassment. He moves to the front passenger seat, putting as much distance between himself and Mizuho as possible. He can't afford for her to catch on his resurfacing feelings. Tobito glances at his brother knowingly but says nothing, simply continuing their journey home. The next day at school, Shugo finds himself begrudgingly delivering a stack of documents to the staff room on behalf of his brother. He grumbles about how Tobito could have easily asked another student, maybe even Kizuki, but as always, his older brother had a way of roping him into his errands. As Shugo voices his displeasure over Togo's bullying, Minami, one of the teachers, had been observing them and suddenly remarks on how close the two brothers seem, commenting on how alike they are. Tobito merely smiles, unbothered by the comparison, but Shugo bristles at the statement. To him, being compared to Tobo feels more like an insult than a compliment, especially since his brother is a known flirt and show-off. Then, out of nowhere, Minami drops a comment that catches both brothers off guard. She turns to Togo and casually remarks that Shugo had been using her as an excuse, pretending to like her, as a cover-up for his true feelings for someone else. Before Shugo can react, tells him that if he keeps running away from his real emotions out of fear of getting hurt, he'll only end up regretting it in the future. A heavy silence falls over the room. Togo, for once, says nothing, simply observing his younger brother's reaction. Shugo stands frozen, her words hitting him harder than he expected. Eventually, he excuses himself and walks out. As he makes his way home, Shugo can't shake the question from his mind. How did Minami even guess that he still had feelings for Mizuho? He thought he had been careful, flirting with Minami, acting indifferent whenever guys got close to Mizuho, never showing the slightest hint of jealousy, and yet she had seen through him. Lost in thought, he barely notices when he arrives at the train station, until his eyes land on a familiar figure. Mizuho is standing on the platform, waiting for the train, seemingly lost in her own world. Without hesitation, he approaches her. He immediately asks about the keychain, curious if she had managed to deliver it to Kizuki. Mizuho hesitates, gripping the small trinket in her hands. She quietly admits that she backed out at the last moment, afraid that giving it to Kizuki would silently confirm her feelings for him. Shugo listens, then offers a suggestion of giving it to him himself. This is symbolic, perhaps she can have feelings for him instead of Mizuki if only she would let him keep the keychain. For a moment, her grip tightened around the small present. She then shakes her head, refusing to give him the keychain. She had chosen this gift while thinking of Kizuki, and giving it to someone else now wouldn't feel right. Determined, she decides to run back to school to finally face Kizuki and her feelings. The sun is already low in the sky by the time she arrives. Kizuki is alone by the pool, collecting the dried-up towels left by the swim team members. He doesn't seem to mind the quiet task, taking a moment to admire the setting sun in the distance. Suddenly, movement catches his attention. Mizuho moves around, keeping her face hidden by staying behind the still-hand towels. Confused, he steps closer, standing directly in front of her. Slowly, she raises her hand, offering him the small keychain. Her voice is soft but unwavering as she admits that she had bought it while thinking of him during her trip with Togo and Shugo. Kizuki reaches forward, pushing the towel away, determined to see Mizuho's face. Before she can take another step, Kizuki catches her from behind, wrapping his arms around her in a firm yet gentle embrace. Her body stiffens at the unexpected closeness, her heart racing as she processes the weight of his presence. Unseen by them, Shugo stands near the entrance to the rooftop, watching in silence. His chest tightens at the sight before him, a painful confirmation of something he had long suspected but refused to fully acknowledge. A deep ache settles in his chest, but there is no anger, only quiet acceptance. He knows that her happiness means more than his own feelings. Without another moment of hesitation, he walks forward, unwilling to witness the rest of what is about to unfold. On the rooftop, Kizuki finally relaxes his grip, allowing Mizuho space to breathe. She pushes him away slightly, a mixture of uncertainty and disbelief in her expression. Her mind races, unable to understand how he can be so certain, so open about emotions that most would struggle to admit. Kizuki remains calm, turning to pick up a fallen towel. He admits that his fear had never been rejection or embarrassment. It had always been the possibility of losing her to someone else. Rather than let hesitation or uncertainty steal his chance, he had chosen to be honest, to lay everything bare without regret. With confidence, he turns to gaze at her, declaring that he will be her first and last boyfriend. Years later, the memory remains vivid in Mizuho's mind. The way Kizuki had looked at her that evening, the quiet resolve in his eyes. Now, standing in front of an apartment door, she grips a key in her hand. Before she can use it, the door swings open. Shuba stands before her, scolding her lightly that she took too long. Stepping forward, she lets the door close behind her, looking forward to the meal prepared by Shugo. As Shuba lets Mizuho in, he listens as she recounts her week, mentioning that she had met up with Shin. A tinge of regret flickers across Shugo's face, knowing how rare it is for him to be in town. He had missed his chance to catch up. Mizuho then shares that Airu had also reached out to her, sending a birthday greeting from London. The distance had never lessened their bond, even as life pulled them in different directions. Seated for dinner, Mizuho takes a bite of Shugo's cooking and is immediately struck by how tender and flavorful the meat is. Shugo suddenly had quit school to pursue a career as a chef. He had found his passion, just as each of their friends had found their place in the world. Their gazes drift to old photos littered around Mizuho's apartment. They take in the frozen moments of their youth, carefree smiles, reckless adventures, and friendships that had shaped them. A quiet understanding passes between them as they reflect on how fearless they once were, chasing dreams without hesitation, believing that time would never change them. The school buzzes with quiet activity as students diligently take down decorations that were meant for the now-canceled school festival. Though Shin still harbors guilt over being unable to convince the school board to let the event push through, he sees that most students have already moved on, finding solace in the shared experience of putting things away together. Eru and Shugo help various clubs take down their posters and return them to their respective club rooms for the members to pack them away. In the manga research club, Mizuho carefully examines one of the prints she had worked on, unsure of what to do with it now that it won't be displayed. The characters she spent hours drawing and coloring were supposed to be seen by the entire school, yet now they remain unnoticed, tucked away like a forgotten dream. Shin, watching her hesitate, casually suggests that she give it to him. Though he doesn't fully grasp the story behind her manga or recognize the character on the print, he figures it would be better than letting it go to waste. Mizuho is shocked that Shin would want one of her prints, but is still amused by Shin's lack of understanding. Even when she attempts to explain the character's background, his expression only grows more bewildered. Despite this, Mizuho feels grateful. At least one of her prints won't be discarded. However, as she tapes up the remaining materials her club had prepared for the festival, a small pang of sadness creeps in. She had been looking forward to sharing her work, to letting her classmates see the stories she poured her heart into. As she sits quietly, lost in thought, she feels Shin's fingers gently brush a stray strand of her hair. The small, unexpected gesture catches her off guard, and she turns to him in surprise. Shin, realizing what he just did, quickly tries to cover his tracks. He awkwardly claims that her loose hair was in danger of sticking to the tape, and he was merely preventing that from happening. Mizuho watches him for a moment before deciding to drop it, instead turning to face the large window beside them. The setting sun bathes the classroom in golden hues, casting long shadows across the walls. She speaks softly, telling Shin that they should remember this moment. The quiet sadness of a canceled festival, the golden light of the evening, the simple comfort of sitting beside each other. The print he now holds will be a memento of today, a way to solidify the memory. Shin doesn't say much but agrees. Though the day is tinged with disappointment, it is still something special, a fleeting moment shared between them. She declares that she wants to make as many memories as possible at the school. Though the future remains uncertain and their high school life has only just begun, she refuses to let these setbacks define her experience. She wants to cherish every moment, to enjoy the presence of her friends, and to take part in all the activities she can. A sense of quiet admiration washes over Shin as he watches Mizuho stand resolutely in the fading sunlight. Her unwavering determination and the way she refuses to be discouraged by setbacks only makes her shine even more in his eyes. The next day, Togo receives his midterm report for his internship from the principal. As she hands him the document, she offers words of encouragement, wishing him luck in the remainder of his training. However, there is a tinge of guilt in her voice as she admits that canceling the festival has been a difficult decision. She knows just how much both students and teachers have been looking forward to the event, and she regrets taking that experience away from them. Tobita worries about how the festival's cancellation will impact student morale. The world outside is already a heavy burden, filled with uncertainty and fear. School events, particularly ones like the festival, are meant to be highlights of youth, memories to look back on with joy. To have such a significant experience taken away from them feels like a cruel blow. He remembers when she had once been his teacher. Back in his own high school days, it was her and several of his other mentors who had taught him that school was more than just a place for academics. It was a space for friendships, experiences, and moments that shaped the person one would become. It was this very lesson that had driven him to pursue a future in education. He wanted to be that guiding force for students, helping them cherish the time they had with their friends, knowing that as they grew older, those daily encounters would fade into distant memories. The principal watches him leave, a nostalgic smile playing on her lips. Despite the years that have passed, he has hardly changed. Meanwhile, Shin, Chika, Shugo, and Mizuho struggle to find a place to store the decorations from the manga research club. Their club room is already filled to the brim, and there's no space left for the remaining materials. Shugo decides to call Iru, hoping that Kizuki and the swim team might be able to store 3 extra boxes in their club room for the time being. Before he can finish the call, the principal suddenly appears behind them, thanking them for their efforts in handling the cleanup. Her presence is unexpected, and for a moment, everyone falls silent. Then Shin recalls Mizuho's words from the day before, the desire to make memories, to enjoy their time in school despite the uncertainty of the future. Taking a deep breath, he steps forward, stopping the principal before she leaves. His voice is steady as he makes a bold request. He asks that the cleanup be halted and that they reconsider proceeding with the school festival, even in the midst of the pandemic. He argues that the students should have something to remember from this year beyond endless study sessions and restrictions. A school festival, even a modified one, would give everyone a chance to experience something joyful. A pregnant silence fills the hall as the students around them wait for the principal's response. Then Mizuho raises her hand in agreement. She voices her support for the festival, her words igniting a spark in the others. One by one, more students step forward, expressing their desire to see the festival pushed through. Their voices grow louder, filled with passion and hope. If there is even a small chance that the festival can happen, they want to fight for it. Their arguments echo through the halls filled with raw emotion. Seeing the overwhelming response from the students, the principal finally relents, agreeing to allow the festival to proceed, but under strict conditions. It will be a one-day event with limited exhibitors and stalls restricted to students only. Performances will be held exclusively on the outdoor stage to ensure better ventilation and safety. Shin feels a surge of gratitude as the principal announces that the festival will still take place. The students erupt in cheers, their voices echoing through the halls, filling the space with excitement and relief. Ira moves through the crowd, joining Shin, Mizuho, and the others at the front, his enthusiasm evident in his expression. Kazuki stands at a distance, watching his friends celebrate. His gaze lingers on Mizuho, who smiles warmly at Shin, her encouragement unmistakable. A quiet sense of jealousy settles in his chest. During the festival, the school grounds buzz with activity and students eagerly move from one attraction to the next. Amidst the festivities, Shin finds himself confronted with an unexpected moment when Akiyama confesses her feelings for him. The confession takes him by surprise, leaving him momentarily speechless. She assures him that he doesn't need to answer immediately, reminding him that they both have responsibilities to attend to. With a confident smile, she leaves him to his thoughts, promising to meet him later. Meanwhile, on the outdoor stage, Kazuki participates in a crepe-making contest. Though he is slow and his technique lacks finesse compared to the other competitors, the cheers from his supporters keep him motivated. By the end of the competition, his crepe is noticeably less refined, but he remains in high spirits. His eyes instinctively search the crowd for Mizuho. When he finally spots her, a familiar warmth fills him. As he moves toward her, his steps slow at the sight of her deep in conversation with Shugo and Iru. A moment of hesitation creeps in, a reminder of the distance that has grown between them. Shiden suddenly appears from behind Kazuki, congratulating him for making the creep, but he is only met with a disheartened Kazuki. Kazuki admits that Mizuho no longer looks his way the same way she once did. To her, he remains a childhood friend, forever stuck in the role of the group's younger brother. The weight of that realization settles over him. Shin recalls a similar conversation in the past, when Kazuki had just realized his feelings for Mizuho. However, back then, after words of encouragement from Shin, Kazuki had managed to jump back up and cheer himself on. Their conversation is cut short when Iru calls for a group photo. Kazuki quickly pushes aside his lingering emotions and eagerly joins the others, positioning himself beside Mizuho. As the group prepares for a shot, Togo attempts to sneak into the frame, only to be scolded and shooed away by Chika. In a subtle but deliberate motion, Kazuki intertwines his fingers with Mizuho's, catching her off guard. She stiffens slightly, her reaction unprepared. Before she can pull away, Chika calls for everyone to face forward. The final photo captures the moment, everyone smiling brightly, except for Mizuho, whose expression remains frozen in surprise. As evening arrives, students gather for the candle lighting event, a quiet yet meaningful alternative to the traditional bonfire. Mizuho cradles her pink candle in her hands, watching the small flame dance in the night air. Shin steps forward, intending to share the moment with her, but Kazuki reaches her first, extending his unlit candle. Kazuki considers asking Mizuho if she has reached a decision about his feelings. As he glances at her, he notices a trace of unease in her expression. Choosing not to press the issue, he decides to fill the air with lighter conversations, content to simply sit together beneath the glow of the candlelight. From afar, Shin observes them, his chest tightening with an emotion he doesn't want to name. Before he can dwell on it, Akiyama approaches, reminding him of the answer she has been waiting for. He offers her a gentle rejection, apologizing for not being able to return her feelings. He admits that his heart has belonged to someone else for a long time. Akiyama listens quietly, absorbing his words with understanding. She acknowledges that unrequited love will only bring her pain, choosing to walk away with grace rather than dwell on what could never be. As she disappears into the crowd, the sound of a camera shutter breaks the quiet moment. Iru stands nearby, his phone in hand, a teasing glint in his eyes. His playful remark carries an edge of amusement, a lighthearted attempt to ease the tension. Iru then shifts his gaze to Kazuki and Mizuho and decides to agree with Akiyama's words. He lowers his eyes to his candle, remembering the time he had caught Mizuho and Kazuki on her birthday and Kazuki admitting his feelings for her. The moment shocked him, but he scolded himself since he was the one who encouraged Kazuki to pursue Mizuho in the first place. Looking back at the pair, he resolves to do something about his feelings. One day, Mizuho presents one of her project ideas to Kawaguchi. Kawaguchi hesitates, troubled by the theme, romance and youth, subjects she feels disconnected from. She confesses that her own youth had been disrupted by the pandemic, having been only an elementary school student when the world shut down. She missed out on school festivals, summer trips, and the carefree experiences that should have shaped her adolescence. Despite this, she's aware that Mizuho belongs to the same lost generation. As a high schooler during the global health crisis, Mizuho, too, had faced the challenges of growing up in isolation. Mizuho admits that while many things had been different due to the crisis, she never allowed the circumstances to steal her experiences. Instead, she and her friends found ways to create memories, pushing forward despite the restrictions. She believes that their generation is one of the strongest because they refuse to let adversity define them. She encourages Kawaguchi to reflect on her own childhood, not just on what was lost, but on the joyful moments she managed to hold on to. Those memories, no matter how small, can still serve as inspiration. After the meeting, Kawaguchi walks home, Mizuho's words lingering in her thoughts. Meanwhile, Mizuho remains behind, a bit disheartened that she couldn't fully convince Kawaguchi to take on the project. As she reflects on the meeting, an old memory surfaces, Kizuki's voice from the past, offering her words of encouragement during a difficult time. The memory is so vivid that it brings a tear to her eye, a quiet reminder of the strength she once found in him. For Togo's send-off party, Mizuho and her friends plan a small camping trip. With the help of Shugo and Togo's parents, they gather all the necessary equipment and ingredients for their outdoor adventure. Shugo insists that the trip isn't just for his brother, it's an excuse for all of them to get away from school stress and enjoy some time together. As everyone settles into the car, Shin notices an open seat beside Mizuho. He hesitates for just a moment, but before he can take it, Kizuki slides in effortlessly, claiming the spot. Iroh catches Shin's reaction and teases him for being too slow. If he had acted sooner, he could have sat beside Mizuho. With no other options, Shin reluctantly takes the remaining seat next to Iroh, quietly brooding while Iroh smiles innocently. The drive is long but lively, filled with laughter and chatter. Most of the noise comes from the back, where Mizuho, Shugo, and Kizuki eat snacks and joke around. Even Iroh joins in from the front, keeping the energy high. Shin, on the other hand, remains quiet throughout the trip, his mind on Mizuho. When they finally arrive at the campsite, they find a scenic area with several small cottages nestled together in a clearing. Togo excitedly tries to claim a room for himself, but Shugo and Shin immediately pull him back, refusing to let him have such an easy escape. Dragging him along, they force him into sharing a room with them. Shin announces that everyone is free to do as they like until 3 in the afternoon, at which point they will regroup for their first camp activity. Some stay behind to unpack and get a fire started, but Mizuho and Kizuki decide to check out a nearby lake. As soon as they reach the water, Kizuki wastes no time splashing around, inviting Mizuho to join him. However, he notices that she isn't fully present. Her gaze lingers back toward the campsite, where Shin had remained behind. It doesn't take long for Kizuki to realize what she's thinking. While he enjoys the moment with Mizuho, she seems more concerned about Shin's mood, hoping that something will pull him out of his quiet state. Not wanting Mizuho to worry instead of having fun with him, Kizuki playfully splashes cold lake water at her. However, he immediately realizes his mistake when Mizuho's light clothing becomes see-through. His heart stops as he processes what he has just done, and panic sets in when he notices a family approaching nearby. Regret floods Kizuki as he yanks his shirt off and rushes toward her. Without a second thought, he drapes it over her chest, pulling her into a protective embrace from behind and murmuring a flustered apology. The family glances at them and smiles, assuming they are a young couple sharing a romantic moment by the water. Mizuho, still breathless from the embarrassment, feels her heart race, not just from the situation, but from how gentle and close Kizuki is. Back at the campsite, Shin finishes washing his hands when he notices Mizuho and Kizuki returning. His eyes immediately land on the oversized shirt Mizuho is wearing, Kizuki's shirt. His grip tightens around the towel he's using, and before he can say anything, Iroh approaches from behind, observing the same thing. Iroh comments on Shin's lack of effort in winning over Mizuho. He points out that Shin was the one who assigned the camping tasks, yet almost all of them paired Mizuho with Kizuki. Iroh had expected Shin to use the trip as an opportunity to be alone with Mizuho to finally start fighting for her heart, but instead, it feels like he's unconsciously handing her over. As Mizuho and Kizuki reach the group, Iroh seizes the moment to nudge things in Shin's favor. He reminds Mizuho that she still needs to borrow extra blankets from the staff, allowing Shin the opportunity to accompany her, knowing Kizuki has to stay behind to help with dinner preparations. At the storage area, they gather the blankets they're allowed to take, with Shin offering to carry most of them. Mizuho's phone suddenly vibrates with a new message, instructing them to bring even more blankets than planned. As she reaches for them, Shin notices some materials on the top shelf shifting dangerously. Instinct takes over. He quickly pushes Mizuho toward a sturdy shelf, shielding her with his arms as a box filled with supplies crashes to the ground behind them. Mizuho, startled, looks up at him, worry clouding her expression. Her fingers gently brush against his face, checking for any injuries. Shin, caught in the moment, hesitates before grasping her hand against his cheek, savoring the rare closeness between them. His heart pounds as he contemplates making this moment more meaningful, but before he can act, a staff member rushes in, having heard the noise. Disappointment flickers across Shin's face as he lets go of Mizuho and reassures the staff that they are fine. His chance is gone and he can do nothing but push down his frustration. Later that evening, the group gathers for dinner, laughter filling the air as they share stories and enjoy the meal together. Ira takes several pictures on his phone, capturing their time at the campsite. Finally, dinner is served, with most of the dishes prepared by Shubo. The group marvels at the variety of food, which looks as though it was crafted by a professional chef. As they enjoy their meal, the conversation naturally shifts towards Shubo's future. Some of them wonder if he will pursue a career in the culinary field, but Shubo quickly dismisses the idea. He announces that he plans to get a regular job after university, something stable and stress-free. Unlike others with big dreams, he simply wants to enjoy life without worrying too much about ambition. Chika voices a similar sentiment, admitting that she doesn't have a specific talent or grand aspiration. However, before she can dwell too much on her own concerns, she catches Togo smirking at her, which prompts her to scold him. She then redirects the conversation by asking him what made him decide to become a teacher. Togo confidently states that he wants to inspire future generations, but the group immediately reacts with skepticism. Given his usual attitude and laid-back personality, they find it hard to believe that he took up teaching for such a noble cause. Shifting the focus once more, Togo directs the question at Shin, curious about what the most studious member of the group plans for the future. This triggers a memory in Shin. He recalls a conversation he once had with Mizuho's father, who had casually mentioned that he hoped Mizuho would marry someone responsible, someone like Shin. The remark had planted a seed in Shin's mind, giving him the idea that if he were to become a doctor, he could provide for Mizuho and easily earn her father's blessing. It was a future he had seriously considered, one where he could finally confess his feelings. Shubo, aware of Shin's dream of becoming a doctor, nearly blurts it out, but before he can reveal anything, Shin tackles him to the ground, preventing him from saying another word. The group smiles at the sudden commotion, while Kizuki remains observant. He notices how Shin's gaze lingers on Mizuho for just a second too long, and an uneasy feeling begins to settle within him. Later in the evening, the group gathers around the campfire as Shubo strums his guitar. The warm glow of the flames creates a reflective mood, and each of them finds themselves lost in thought. Chika, normally reserved, mumbles to Mizuho that she hopes they can be friends forever. The rare display of emotion surprises Mizuho, filling her with warmth. Without hesitation, she pulls Chika into a hug, reassuring her that they will always remain friends. Chika then admits that, as much as she enjoys the present, she doesn't have a clear goal for her future. But sitting by the fire with everyone, she realizes that at the very least, there are some things she wants to hold on to. The group listens in silence, each contemplating their own uncertainties. The quiet moment lingers until Togo, unable to handle a heavy atmosphere, spreads his arms dramatically and offers himself as a comforting figure for anyone who wants to confess their troubles. His exaggerated gesture breaks the solemn mood, and the group collectively refuses his offer. As the night winds down, Kizuki and Shin end up showering at the same time. The rhythmic sound of the water fills the space between them, but Kizuki's mind is elsewhere. Thoughts of Mizuho swirl in his head, and a growing concern gnaws at him. His earlier observations of Shin's lingering gazes and subtle reactions have only strengthened his suspicions. Feeling restless, Kizuki finally decides to confront Shin about it. He directly asks if Shin has feelings for Mizuho, hoping to get a clear answer. However, due to the noise of the running water, Shin fails to hear Kizuki's inquiry. The moment is lost, and Kizuki ultimately decides to drop the topic. But as he turns away, Shin catches sight of the troubled expression on his friend's face. Though unsure of the reason, he can sense that something is weighing on Kizuki's mind. After their bath, Kizuki and Shin exit the bathhouse, only to find Chika glancing worriedly toward the forest. Concerned, they ask her what's wrong, and she explains that Mizuho had gone off alone to search for her missing phone but had been gone for over 30 minutes. Without hesitation, Shin and Kizuki decide to go search for her. Though Kizuki is tasked with first bringing Shin's things back to his room before catching up. As Kizuki enters Shin's room, his eyes fall on one of Mizuho's art prints that fell from Shin's bag. Upon closer inspection, he notices a small note written on the corner in Shin's handwriting. It mentions that he had been with Mizuho a few days before the school festival. This discovery causes a flood of memories to rush through Kizuki's mind. He recalls the times when Shin would intentionally step back, allowing Kizuki to have more moments alone with Mizuho. Even when it was obvious that Mizuho's attention was on Shin, he would always choose to walk away. Kizuki remembers the day he finally shared his feelings for Mizuho, trusting that Shin, out of everyone, would understand him the most. Back then, Shin had simply told him to do his best, offering no objections or signs of rivalry. Kizuki has always been aware of Shin's unspoken feelings for Mizuho, but now he finds himself questioning why Shin keeps giving him an advantage. Meanwhile, deeper in the woods, Mizuho takes shelter under the roof of an old, abandoned cottage as the rain intensifies. Shin approaches her and offers to ring hers, hoping they can locate it quickly. Almost instantly, the sound of her ringtone echoes from nearby, allowing them to find the phone without much trouble. However, the rain begins to pour down even harder, making it impossible to return to the campsite. With no other choice, they decide to wait it out. Shin takes off his jacket and drapes it over Mizuho's head, instructing her to step further inside so she doesn't get wet. She protests, worried about his health, leading to a playful debate on who should wear the jacket. Eventually, they settle on sharing it, huddling close to keep warm. As they wait, Mizuho confesses her simple wish to remain friends with everyone forever, to continue enjoying outings like this camping trip even as they grow older. Her words linger in Shin's mind and his expression darkens slightly. He knows this wish is unrealistic, especially since Kazuki has already confessed his love for Mizuho. Kazuki doesn't just want to remain friends, he envisions a future where they are together as lovers, and Shin himself also wants a future with her. Slowly, he leans in as if to say something, but just then, the rain begins to let up. Instead of speaking, he pulls back and informs Mizuho that they should start heading back. When they return, Chika is the first to scold Mizuho for making everyone worry, but the group is visibly relieved that Shin managed to find her. As the night winds down, Mizuho returns to her cabin, replaying Shin's words in her mind. Suddenly, she gets a call from Kazuki, who is relieved to know that she's back in the campsite since he had been searching in a different direction from Shin. He tells her that he's on his way to see her, wanting to check if she's alright. Suddenly, there's a knock on Mizuho's door and she assumes it's Kazuki. She opens it without hesitation, only to be met by Shin instead. Before she can react, Shin notices Kazuki's call is still active on her phone. Without a word, he reaches for it and apologizes to Kazuki before ending the call. Then, without warning, he pulls her into his arms and kisses her. Mizuho stays at the meeting place, feeling disheartened about her failed attempt to convince her artist to take on her project. The disappointment weighs heavily on her, and she finds herself wishing Kazuki were there to comfort her. Just as her thoughts spiral, her phone buzzes with a call from an unknown number. She hesitates, debating whether to answer it, but curiosity eventually wins. To her surprise, it's Ayuro on the other end. His cheerful voice contrasts with her gloomy mood, instantly lightening the atmosphere. He casually mentions that he's currently in Hong Kong and will be flying back to Japan in a few hours. Without much preamble, he asks if Mizuho can pick him up at the airport. Mizuho stands in shock as Shin kisses her, her mind racing and unsure of how to respond. As Shin pulls away, he calmly recites the date and time, marking the moment with unsettling certainty. Mizuho, overwhelmed, questions his actions. Shin, however, stands his ground, claiming that he wants to create memories of this year and refuses to apologize for what he's done. Confused and unsettled, Mizuho quickly shuts the door in his face, desperate for space to clear her head. The lingering sensation of the kiss and the weight of Shin's words gnaw at her, leaving her heart conflicted. Meanwhile, Shin turns away and walks back to his cabin, only to run into Kazuki. Without hesitation, Shin confesses that he also has feelings for Mizuho. He makes it clear that he will no longer support Kazuki's pursuit of her, declaring that he intends to follow his own heart. Determined, Shin vows that he won't lose to Kazuki. Once school resumes, the boys head to Mizuho's house, planning to walk to school together. However, her father informs them that she's already left. Ayuro remarks that he had noticed Mizuho acting strangely during the camping trip. A shift in her behavior had been subtle, but now it's undeniable. Mizuho's father asks if one of the boys can accompany her later to buy a farewell gift for Togo. Meanwhile, Mizuho is already on her way to school, her thoughts still tangled. She replays the moment with Shin over and over in her mind. Confused and conflicted, she feels cornered. What bothers her most is how Shin and Kazuki have both chosen to act on their feelings, disregarding the delicate balance she had desperately wanted to maintain. Her simple wish to remain friends with everyone now seems like a distant hope. At school, the boys notice a crowd of female students gathered around Togo, congratulating him on completing his internship. With smiles and gifts in hand, they shower him with praise, clearly expressing how much they'll miss him. Iger watches the scene unfold in amusement as he browses online for a possible present they can purchase for him as well. Shugo insists that his brother doesn't need any more gifts. However, Iger suggests that they should still find something meaningful for him. Kazuki, eager to spend time with Mizuho, volunteers to go shopping with her. Before he can act on it, Shin steps forward, reminding everyone that the rest of them have school responsibilities to tend to. Conveniently, Shin has already completed his work, making him the only one free to accompany Mizuho. He confidently gets the money from Ayuro and announces that he'll be the one to go with Mizuho. The boys watch in disbelief at his newfound determination. Kazuki, visibly frustrated, dramatically falls to his knees, groaning over Shin's assertiveness. After school, Togo finishes surfing and finds Mizuho by the shore, staring at her phone. He notices her downcast expression and approaches her, sensing that something is off. With her usual cheerful demeanor absent, he decides to invite her to spend some time with him. They head to a nearby cafe where one of Togo's school friends works. She scolds him playfully for not reaching out since he returned to town, but her warmth and happiness in seeing him are evident. She mentions that their group of friends is always willing to wait for him even as the years pass. Mizuho watches their exchange, struck by how beautiful the girl looks when she smiles. Togo introduces Mizuho, explaining that she has been a childhood friend and neighbor. The friend greets Mizuho with genuine kindness, further dazzling her with her radiant presence. While Togo shoots some hoops, Mizuho receives a text from Shin, asking her to keep her schedule free after school tomorrow. The message leaves her conflicted, the weight of recent events lingering in her mind. Sensing her inner turmoil, Togo reads her expression easily. He reflects on how well he understands her feelings and begins to recount his own experiences and shares it with her. In high school, Togo faced a similar struggle with his best friend. Despite harboring feelings for her, he chose to maintain their friendship rather than risk losing her. To distract himself, he dated other girls, but his love for his best friend never faded. By the time graduation arrived, regret consumed him for never confessing his true feelings. Stating Mizuho's turmoil mirrors his own past, Toguro hopes she can avoid making the same mistake. His words and presence bring a subtle shift in her expression, the dullness in her eyes giving way to a glimmer of determination. Encouraged by this, he lines up for one final shot, the basketball soaring effortlessly through the hoop. The small crowd of schoolboys watching from the side murmurs in awe. As he turns back to Mizuho, his lighthearted demeanor returns, teasingly suggesting that if she ever finds herself heartbroken, she can always come back to him. Mizuho's immediate flustered reaction amuses him, and a chuckle escapes as he gazes back at the cafe. Through the reflection in the window, he sees his friend, her smile still vivid in his memory. The feelings from his past linger, but he's made peace with them. Grateful for his words and the support he offered, Mizuho feels a renewed resolve. Though fear still grips her, she knows she must face her feelings rather than suppress them. Determined to confront what's in her heart, she thanks Togo for helping her take the first step forward. The next day after school, Kizuki feels defeated as he half-heartedly participates in practice. His mind is consumed by the thoughts of Mizuho and Shin. Shubo takes the opportunity to tease him. He tricks Kizuki into believing that Shin and Mizuho are nearby, causing Kizuki to snap to attention and look past the grills. Seeing his plan work, Shubo smirks and scolds Kizuki for his absent-mindedness. He reminds him of the gravity of the situation. Shin isn't just another rival, he's the most popular student among them. Despite his aloofness, Shin's charm has always drawn admiration. Shudo points out that if Shin is serious about Mizuho, he could easily win her over. Kizuki's stomach twists at the thought. Stuck at practice, he can only accept his helplessness while Shin spends the afternoon with Mizuho. Meanwhile, Mizuho and Shin arrive at the shopping center, ready to find Togo's farewell gift. As they step into a cramped elevator, the crowd forces them to stand close. Shin instinctively wraps an arm around Mizuho to shield her from being jostled. The warmth of his touch sends memories of the kiss flooding back. Mizuho's thoughts whirl in confusion, but she quickly pushes them aside. Today is about Togo's present, she reminds herself, nothing more. The elevator opens and Shin gently leads her out, his hand lingering on her wrist. Mizuho's heart races, but she tries to remain composed. The shopping center is bustling and Shin strides forward with purpose. Despite the distractions, Mizuho can't stop herself from recalling Togo's words. She wonders what her heart truly desires. Eventually, they find the store Iru had mentioned, and Shin ends up studying the item they had thought about giving while many female shoppers gaze at him due to how handsome he is. Mizuho's gaze drifts to the people around them. She notices several women stealing glances at Shin. Their admiration is evident. Mizuho's chest tightens. Shin's popularity has always been undeniable. Even in middle school, upperclassmen would fawn over him. Their attempts to catch his attention often met with polite indifference. She recalls how Shin would evade romantic advances with practiced ease. While he never outright rejected anyone, his charming small talk was merely a means to disengage without causing harm. On Valentine's Day, his stoic refusals of chocolate gifts intimidated Mizuho, Iru, and Kizuki. Shin notices that Mizuho is lost in thought, clutching onto a yellow necktie. Without a word, he wraps his arms around her in a light hug. The sudden embrace startles her, sending a wave of warmth through her. Before she can react, Shin casually pulls away and gestures toward the saleslady, making it clear that they will be purchasing the yellow one. Mizuho blinks, still catching up. Realizing that Shin's gesture was nothing more than an excuse to get close to her, irritation flares. With Togo's gift secured, they wander into a nearby bookstore. Both Mizuho and Shin find books that interest them, allowing Mizuho to momentarily forget her troubles. After leaving the bookstore, the irresistible scent of something sweet fills the air. A small bakery named Golden Spiral Churros has a long line of customers. The aroma of cinnamon sugar is impossible to resist, making Mizuho want to try the dessert. The two find a bench facing the ocean, the breeze cooling the warmth of the day. Mizuho takes a bite, savoring the sweet, crispy exterior. Her delight is evident, the frustration from earlier dissipating with each bite. She thanks Shin for waiting with her, fully aware of how much patience it must have taken. Just as Mizuho begins to relax, Shin leans in without warning. Her heart races, the familiar nervousness from before returning. For a moment, she thinks he's going to kiss her again, but instead he takes a bite of her churro. The bold move leaves her flustered. Nearby, a group of girls giggle as they watch the exchange. The realization that others see them as more than friends only intensifies the weight of Shin's actions. Back at school, Kizuki openly panics while Shugo takes full advantage of his friend's distress. Shugo gleefully recounts how Shin has never dated before, emphasizing how his sudden interest in Mizuho is anything but casual. He claims that Shin doesn't pursue romantic relationships without serious intentions, The thought leaves Kizuki horrified. Shubo, delighted by Kizuki's reaction, suggests that Shin might even trick Mizuho into signing a marriage contract without realizing it. Meanwhile, Mizuho and Shin continue their seaside stroll. As they pass a scenic lookout, a newlywed couple catches their attention. The bride's white gown shimmers in the sunlight as she and her groom pose for a photo. Shin's gaze lingers on the scene, but his thoughts are elsewhere. Without meaning to, he imagines Mizuho in a wedding dress, the sunlight illuminating her soft features. The thought flusters him, and he quickly looks away, but the image remains vivid in his mind. Once the couple finishes their shoot, Mizuho and Shin are now free to walk in that area to head to the train, but Shin grabs Mizuho, claiming that he wants to go to one more area with her. He leads her toward a nearby cable car station. Mizuho is amazed. She had heard stories about the construction, but this is her first time riding it. As the car ascends, the cityscape unfolds below them, the ocean glistening beneath the fading sunlight. The breathtaking view leaves her in awe. Mizuho attempts to get Shin to chat with her since he has been silent for a while, but he admits that he doesn't want to go home yet, knowing that it would mean parting ways with Mizuho. Spending the day alone with her has been special, something he has longed for since realizing his romantic feelings. Mizuho stiffens, the confession hitting her harder than she expected. Unable to respond, she turns her attention to the sunset, pretending to admire it. Her mind races, desperately searching for a way to lighten the atmosphere. Before she can speak, the cable car jolts unexpectedly. She loses her balance, tumbling straight into Shin's arms. His hands instinctively catch her, steadying her. Shin lingers for a moment before pressing a gentle kiss to her forehead. The simple yet intimate gesture leaves Mizuho stunned. When they reach their stop, Shin faces her once more. With unwavering resolve, he makes it clear that his heart is set on her. He is willing to wait for Mizuho's answer, no matter how long it takes. Before she can respond, he steps out of the car, leaving her in stunned silence.